special. This Halloween, our co-hosts Pat and Matt take you on a horrifying and spectacularly spooky journey through some of their favorite scary movies. Joining us this evening is our special guest Avery Lentz, host of the Battles and Banter podcast. So make sure to turn on the lights. Check the closet and under your bed. Because it's showtime.
Trick or treat!
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the History Things podcast. Spooky. Can we get some more spooky? Who's doing the spooky? I'm your co-host, Pat McGuire, and joining me, as always, across the table is my co-host with the most, fresh from the Black Plagues of Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matty B. Matty B, how are ya?
I'm doing well, Pat. Even with the plagues ravaging the land.
Just destroying him. Is your nose messing with the microphone over there, Mr. Plague Doctor?
Yeah, it's a little bit. That's okay.
All right. To his right, my left, is our producer. You guys all know him. He is from the state of Maine, the least useful state of all the states in the Union. Ladies and gentlemen, over here is Dracula, our producer, Parker Russell. Parker, Parker, what are you drinking there, bud?
I am drinking Moxie from apparently the least useful state
Yeah, I
of the
know.
Union.
Well, basically with season 3, we've been taking shots about whoopie pies and everything, so I gotta keep it going.
You'll notice, keen-eyed viewers will notice this is Diet Moxie.
Ooh.
I've,
We gotta keep it light.
yeah, we do. We have to keep it really light, so.
And to my right, Matt's left, our esteemed guest, co-host of the Battles and Banter podcast, the most frightening man in the podcast room right now. Are we safe, Mr. Bain?
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan.
I love it. Avery Lentz, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the History Things podcast.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. All right, I'm had enough of these masks. I'm taking them off. Woo, it is hot here. Boys and girls in the podcast studio. Well, thank you all for joining us. We're very excited to do this. Halloween is a fun time here at the show. We usually do a lot of things off mic, not really show related, but over the last few years, Matt Borders and I have been sharing with you all some of our favorite Halloween films. We've been doing this in written format. We've talked about films such as Sleepy Hollow, The Poltergeist, the original Frankenstein movies. Matt, what am I forgetting?
That was actually what we've hit.
That was pretty much what we've hit.
Yeah.
Cool, nailed it. This year, we've been growing the show a lot. We wanted to do something different, so we thought we'd bring you into the studio so you could see this conversation as it's taking place instead of us just writing it out back and forth. And we wanted to bring one of our very best friends into the studio here to have some fun with us. So here's what we're going to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to basically do like we've done in years past. We're going to pick some of our favorite Hollywood horror films. Scary movies. Basically, if it's a Halloween movie, we're going to talk about it. We're going to go in order. We're going to start with Avery here in a minute, jump to our producer, Parker. Matt and I will take you home from there. We have some films that you're pretty familiar with, some that you're definitely not going to be familiar with, and we have a very interesting sales pitch tonight. We'll get to that at the end here, but let's get started. Avery, let's get started with round number 1 here. The first horror film, Halloween film, is this like your favorite all time, or just one you want to talk about tonight?
It is my favorite of all time.
All right.
Hands down my favorite horror movie of all time.
All right, so let's get into it straight away then. Let's talk about title of the movie, who directed it, who's in it, tell us about
I
it.
should preface this by saying, so this film was directed by John Carpenter, and I do like John Carpenter's Halloween, but I felt that would have been too on the nose.
Sure.
Because I, A, like this film better, and B, on the nose.
All right, let's just acknowledge something real quick up front as well. Also, John Carpenter's going to get a lot of love tonight. Apparently,
Sure
he owns
is.
Halloween, not just
I
as a
mean-
franchise, but as a whole thing.
And I would argue he does because his music composing, whoever he coordinates with or collabs with, or if it's
Is
just
legit.
himself.
I think it's him a lot of it on his own.
I mean, Ennio Morricone did the soundtrack of this first film we're going to talk about, which of course is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Ooh, classic.
Yes, it is interesting Halloween movie, quote unquote, because there's a lot of snow. And I mean, depending on where you live, that's a very
That's what
that's a very real
Man,
reality. Yeah.
when I think about Halloween, I think about Kit Kat bars and igloos.
See, okay, yeah, and some of the best
Snowman.
Halloweens ever, we got snow squalls. So I will say this was a good movie to watch if it is snowing on your Halloween night, wherever you live.
Before we even get into that, we're already treading the fine line between Christmas and Halloween with like Jack Frost.
Very true.
Like not the Michael Keaton one, like the horrible murder snowman one.
oh yes,
Right,
with
yeah.
Shannon.
Not to confuse those two. Shannon Elizabeth.
So,
I'm sorry, I can't.
so Parker, it was a Midwestern tradition growing up where I was for your mom or your parent.
mom?
yeah,
not
Parker's
your-
mom, specifically your
Specifically
mom.
your
For
mom.
let's put it this way: for my mom to make our Halloween costumes about a size or so a little large. That way we could have our winter coats on underneath them. Was that a thing up there in Maine? Because it was definitely a thing in Michigan.
Yeah, because a lot of kids did. A lot of kids absolutely had the, they were made bigger so you could have like the vests and stuff.
Because it gets
underneath.
cold up there where
Well,
you guys
we
live.
frequently have snow.
Yeah,
On Halloween.
I have trick or treated in snow before.
Now,
Yeah.
Avery is
Yeah,
not
for-
directly from Maryland, but he's from an area in Pennsylvania more climate like that where I'm at,
I mean,
right? Did it get cold in Hughesville?
It did. When we first moved there, it did snow a lot in the wintertime, but around 2006, and I remember specifically, that was like the last white Christmas we had.
Yeah, but what about Halloween? Did you ever get snow on Halloween?
Yeah, every other year, pretty much. I mean, it wouldn't accumulate, but it would snow. I mean, we'd get snow squalls, and it would be flurries and stuff, and it would be frigid. So when you go trick or treating, if you had props, if you had to hold something, your fingers froze right on off. And,
Wow.
like,
100%.
Yeah, so like there were a couple of years I did a lightsaber wielding.
All right, well, here in the barren wasteland of Maryland, it was still like 90 degrees most summer days, so
See, and that's
that's
something
crazy.
new.
You're not even that far from Maryland. I mean, a couple hours, but these guys are like from a serious flight. You have to get on a plane to
That's
get there
true.
reasonably.
Yeah, yeah. The
I mean, you
climate
could drive
hasn't
there.
really
Matt
changed.
drives to Michigan pretty regularly, but Matt likes being
It
in
has
the car.
definitely got warmer in Pennsylvania.
All right, for sure. All right, so the thing, right? So we're talking
Yes.
about snow and Halloween, two things that everybody thinks about together, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. This is probably one of my favorite films, and like I already mentioned, the music score is something that is very memorable about this film. Ennio Morricone, I think is how you pronounce it. He's Italian. He is famous for composing for Good, the Bad, the Ugly, for all the spaghetti westerns.
Yep.
Ecstasy of Gold. That's
Oh,
what that is.
yes.
So he did that track, but this one is lesser known. And he did the soundtrack for this one. There is a track called Humanity Part 2. It just starts out and it's just bum 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 bum. It's very ominous, it's very simple, and it's very spooky. If you play it, it fits perfectly on most Halloween music soundtracks. But yeah, and what I love about The Thing is it's a remake. A lot of people don't realize that. So there is a 1955 film, I believe it is, either 55 or 56. It's called The Thing from Another World. And it was a black and white film, almost the exact same premise. But in that film, the alien is clearly a dude. He's clearly a dude in a suit. And they throw fire on this guy. He was wearing a fire suit in the old film. I mean, it's crazy. Really like shotgun filming, as a lot of films were done in the 50s. So John Carpenter took that. What I think is really creative, if you watch his original Halloween film, the kids, Tommy and Lindsay, they're watching The Thing on the TV.
Ooh,
the
right
old
on.
school thing.
That's
So it
cool.
was
That's
a foreshadow to what he was going to film in 1982.
Nice.
One of the other reasons I love this film is that Kurt Russell's one of my favorite actors. He is the main character. This is Kurt Russell around the time he's doing Escape from New York. Which is also a John Carpenter film, I believe.
Does John Carpenter make every movie I like?
Pretty much, dude.
Dude, who had any clue? I didn't know
Yeah.
that was a John
But,
Carpenter movie.
Yeah, no, this is. I think so. Don't quote me on that. I don't want somebody to jump down my throat and be like, "It's not. You don't know. I'm talking about.
Or look,
you know,
bold
so-
statement, no rabbit hole. Literally, we cannot go down this rabbit
Yeah.
hole. Escape from LA better than Escape from New York. Leave it alone. Nobody touch it. You want to debate? We'll come back and do it. But I'm saying it right
well,
now.
On that excruciatingly painful statement, we're going to jump right into it. So yeah, this is what another thing I will mention before we dive into the meat and teeth of this is no pun intended.
Ooh, very
is
nice.
This came out and it just bombed. Like critics hated this film. Audiences didn't quite know what to think of it either. 1982, which sucks because if I could go back in time and visit and see a lot of films in the theater for the first time, this is definitely one of them. Right. Alien is another. Jaws is another hit. Foreshadow. The point is, for The Thing, you don't really know what's going to happen. Back in the day, in the 80s horror films, the really good ones didn't really show you what was going to happen or what was going on. You got an idea of it, but you didn't really see the monster. They didn't show you anything super in detail. You got glimpses, flashes, cuts of it.
More suspense.
I wish they
more
would do that
suspenseful.
now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was actually better.
This was
Like,
this was definitely this is one of the reasons I love this movie. It's art. It is pure horrific art, and I love it. And so when the movie starts, you're like, what the is going on? Because the film starts with a dog, a beautiful husky, running across the Antarctic wastes.
A classic Halloween scene for those of you when he's got a pumpkin in his hand. That's not true. It's not true.
And a helicopter chasing this dog. It's a Swedish helicopter or Norwegian helicopter because it just says Norg on the side of it.
Okay.
I assume they're Norwegian. But anyway, they are shooting at this dog, and you're like, whoa, what are you doing? Don't shoot the dog. What are you doing? What's going on? The dog proceeds to run to Outpost 10, which is, I guess, an Antarctic research outpost. It's an American outpost. All dudes. There's not a single woman at this outpost. And I'm just like, okay, interesting choice there, John, but hey, whatever. Because there's at least a woman in the original in 1955. So.
No, John Carpenter said, no women, I am a misogynist.
No.
I don't know that he actually said that.
No, but it's just very interesting because I'm like, interesting choice. But I think it gives kind of a breath to the isolationist of it, that these dudes haven't seen home, they haven't seen their families, they haven't seen a woman, they haven't seen anything in months, and they're about to go into winter in Antarctica, which sounds just god-awful. Because
Is there a difference than summer in Antarctica? Isn't it also snowy there?
Well,
it
yes.
depends on where you are, apparently, on the continent. So if you go to certain points in Antarctica, it's less snow in the summertime.
All right, we are tiptoeing the line for the Science Things podcast.
But
again,
yeah,
man.
yeah, and I don't quote me on that. I'm not an Antarctic expert. All I know is it's winter 1982.
Well, Matt is a doctor for Halloween this episode, so
true.
as a scientist,
But
do you have an opinion on this
He's
matter?
more of an
This is-
organic doctor.
exactly.
He's not
This
really a
is-
climatologist.
This is more medical.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
different doctor.
He doesn't know climates. So, no offense. Maybe you do. I don't know. The point is,
I can tell you that your humors are out of balance.
well, yeah. So yeah, and I mean, and to keep this, I'm gonna just ignore it and keep plowing. What's great about this is that this dog just runs up to this outpost, and being Americans, we're all like, oh yeah, dog, cool. And these Norwegians land, and the dude has grenades, not just a rifle, but he's got grenades. He misthrows a grenade back into the helicopter or right next to it, and he's just like, and he runs away, and it blows up, and the pilot blows up with it. So carnage, and the Americans are like, what the actual and this dude's standing there shouting at them in Norwegian with his rifle, ignoring the fireball behind him that was his ride, and proceeds just firing blindly, trying to hit this dog. And one of the dudes gets hit, Bennings, he gets hit in the leg.
And this is opening sequence.
This is the opening, so you're like, whoa.
So we're confused and we're anxiety laden for a dog.
Yeah, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? Something about this dog has wigged this dude out to the point where he's mashed at this point. But he's not trying to shoot them. He's trying to shoot the dog. And of course, being Americans, if we see someone shooting, we then pull our guns and we shoot back. Which is what Gary, the outpost leader, the research expeditions leader, pulls his revolver and pops this dude through a window. And so finally we have this nice calmness of it. But what proceeds to happen is, Kurt Russell's character, he is their helicopter pilot. He's the American helicopter pilot at this research station. So he has to fly members of the team out to where these Norwegians came from. So they discover their outpost. It's been destroyed. There's evidence of explosions, of fires. There's hardly any bodies around, which is super eerie. They do find one. The dude has committed suicide by his wrists, and his blood is frozen. So it's a really creepy shot, and you're just like, "Good."
So it's cold in
It's
Antarctica.
very cold, Pat. Like negative 30 is the minimum, I
Okay.
believe.
So it's like Michigan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or
There you
Maine.
go. But yes, the point is they find this facility, they find other corpses, and there's something odd about these corpses they find all charred. They don't appear to look or even appear to be human by their DNA. They're something else. But they were at least once human. There's a great shot in the film where like they get the body back, and it's literally two faces like melted together. And it's like this film just kicks ass with prosthetics, with special effects. Like,
So is this a
practical
science
effects.
experiment going wrong? Like, what is
So
this?
we're getting there. So
Okay.
they then, they go over their notes, they go over their they find footage of like what was happening, what this Norwegian team was doing, and then they find that this Norwegian team had made a discovery. Because science and discovery always leads to carnage, Jurassic Park, i.e. Alien, i.e. pretty much any cautionary tale ever.
Titanic, iceberg. You're right.
AVP.
They were-
Yeah,
they-
yeah.
oh.
Now, brief Titanic aside here for a second, because here's the thing. Just like with Jurassic Park, and they just keep making more dinosaurs, just like with all these movies, we're just going to keep making the stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
They're rebuilding the Titanic in China.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's got a homing beacon for another iceberg.
Right.
Don't worry. When that ship sets sail, we're gonna cover
Yeah.
it. Like this show is gonna be hot on that whenever the Chinese
be
finish building
fair,
that.
I will tour it,
There-
but I will not
There
sell
are
it,
conspiracy
just so you know.
theories that it was not an iceberg that sunk the 1912 Titanic,
Oh.
but in
Oh.
fact,
Oh.
Godzilla.
Oh, we touch on
We
that.
didn't think
it
that was going
yes.
there.
Yeah.
But no, Godzilla is.
It's
is
in fact
rumored to
it's
be out
true.
there.
Short history rabbit hole. The Japanese knew they were going to get screwed at the end of World War I. So preemptively, before the war
They
even broke
unleashed
out,
something.
they unleashed the dragon into the waters, guys. And now we have a whole
But for
film
some reason,
franchise.
he swam into the North Atlantic to target the White Star Line. So
That's
I don't
it.
really know.
Well, because it was the English that screwed them the
yeah.
most. It couldn't have been
Damn
us.
English.
It couldn't
Yeah,
have been the
exactly.
Americans.
Damn British Empire. Yeah. But yes, back to
So science experiment.
Back to the science experiment. So they fly back out. They find a crater where it looks like there was evidence of a spaceship at one point.
Oh,
So
damn.
not
So-
a science experiment.
So it's not a science experiment. These are just like climatologists, geologists, what have you, biologists doing just basic research studies. Because in the 80s, a lot of people didn't know what the Antarctica was. They knew it was a continent at the bottom of the world, but hardly anyone had explored it. The last people that had explored it substantially.
The Nazis.
No, well, Jesus. Ernest, yes, you're not
potentially,
wrong. You're not
potentially.
wrong. I mean, I was alluding to Ernest Shackleton even earlier on,
Nice.
but and he was British.
Oh, who won the war, Shackleton? And they're like, it's still going.
The
yeah.
world has gone mad.
It's gone mad.
Yes, but yeah. So I mean, Antarctica, Anaconda Car, different movie. But yes, Antarctica is a very like in the 1982. It's a very uncharted area. It's like anything could happen down there. It's unknown. It's mystery. And excuse me. So these dudes, they're like, okay, well this thing they found. It was in the ship, and apparently it crawled out of it and froze in the ice. And these Norwegians thawed it out, and something happened between point A and point B because their facility's gone, and this dude is trying to shoot a dog. So what the hell is going on here? And around this time, the dog has been running freely around the American outpost to the point where it then...
I didn't want to ask that, but I wanted to know what the fate of this dog was from the moment you mentioned a dog.
So unfortunately, Pat, this dog is not a dog. I'm going to preface that.
Well, then I'm
first
not
of all.
about to be upset with what I think
Oh,
you're about to
you're
say.
gonna be
Because if
upset
it's
with
not a
this. So-
dog, then I'm not worried.
Well, here's the thing, Pat. So the dog is running amok to the point where it pisses off members of the team. So they're like, put it with the other dogs and their kennels.
That's Old Yeller, right?
No. These are all Huskies. They're all like Alaskan Siberian Huskies. They're sled dogs.
Sure.
Because if they're not using the helicopter because it's too cold to fly, they'll use the sleds to go around.
Right, the
So-
dogs will fly the helicopter.
exactly. with aviators.
Right,
mind you.
right.
But anyway, they put this weird dog with the others, and it's not even in there for a minute. They turn out the lights. Everyone goes back to whatever business they're doing. They leave the dog alone with the other dogs, and the other dogs just start freaking out. And it's at this exact moment that if you weren't sure what movie you were watching or what kind of movie you were watching, things go 0 to 1,000 in like 5 seconds.
I mean, I'm not going to
Because
lie, because I'm confused
the dog
already.
like growls and its face fucking splits open
Not
and
cool.
tentacles shoot out.
Not cool.
And they start grabbing the other dogs and the skin turns to like goo and it starts to shoot out and absorb other dogs and
I'm terrified.
Oh, it's horrific and it's all practical effects.
How old were you the first time you saw this movie?
I was probably 12. It didn't give me nightmares, but boy, was I unsettled, and I didn't trust anyone. So, for all you kids listening out there, I know probably a lot of you play Among Us. This is absolutely what Among Us is based on, because now we have an alien entity that basically disguises itself as a biological organism that we are familiar with, and its goal is to absorb and replicate as much as possible so it can spread. So
All right,
it's almost like a bacterial based alien.
So the thing is an alien. So
Yes.
you mentioned the spaceship. So because
This
I've never seen
pure
this movie.
sci-fi horror. This
I've
is
never
pure
seen this
sci-fi
film.
horror. I'm not doing it justice with my words, but so they burn.
You're freaking Pat
so,
out.
Yeah.
I think
I
you
mean, I'm
deserve
confused and scared. This is a
So
win.
yeah, so two of the dogs get out, and the guy who handles the dogs are like, "What the is going on?" He looks in and he sees this nightmare unfolding in front of him, and he's like, hello, I need help." So Kurt Russell, everybody else, they rush to see it. They bring flamethrowers. They can also hear it roaring, and it's like this eerie, high pitched like roar throughout the compound, throughout the facility. And so they get in there and they're like, "What is it?" And they're like, "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's weird and it's pissed off." And they eventually end up burning the thing. No, yeah,
The thing?
It's perfect.
Nice.
It's perfect. You don't even need a pun for it. But they burn it and they're like, "What the?" So Blair is like their science guy, and he dissects it and he's like, "Well, here's the thing." No pun intended. It's gonna happen a lot. It's gonna
Is
happen
that
a lot.
Blair Nye, the science guy?
No, Blair. It's actually Wilford Brimley of the diabetes testing.
Oh, my
Nice.
goodness.
It is Wilford Brimley.
Before we see the organs, we're going to test for the diabetes.
Yes, and this is pre
This dog
this
had
is pre Walker
diabetes.
Texas Ranger 2.
Oh, so this is pre-diabetes.
This is pre diabetes.
He's pre-diabetic.
And he doesn't have a mustache. He looks very strange. He doesn't have any facial hair. It's just Wilford Brimley's shaven face.
So this
Kinda
is
looks like
pre-Quaker
mine
Oats,
right
too,
now.
then.
Well, Wilford
Oh, yeah.
Brimley is patient 0 for diabetes.
Diabetes.
So we're not going to actually
Like-
recognize Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, no, I didn't recognize him until I saw the credits.
Oh.
But yeah, he doesn't have any facial hair. He's younger, but he still is very much like about everything.
Well, the diabetes.
Yeah, the diabetes. And these dogs had diabetes. This alien thing also had diabetes, and that's why I tried to absorb them. So he's the one that's kind of telling them everything that's happening. And so they had burned that, not realizing they also had the corpse they brought back from the Norwegian camp chilling in their fridge. And at this point, Bennings, I guess, is like one of their other science guys. He's kind of really annoying because all you do in the time that you're exposed to this guy, all he does is complain. He like bitches, he moans. He's the one that got shot. So he's like, "Guys, can you keep the music down?" First of all, he tells the cook to turn down Superstitions by Stevie Wonder.
Oh, hell
Because he
no.
was shot today. And I'm like, "Homie," and he doesn't. The cook's just like, "Yeah, okay," and he doesn't do it. It's great. It's a great scene. But anyway, Bennings is alone with the corpse of the thing they brought back, and you just see like under the tarp that they put over it, you see the goo start to drip down. It's a great shot. And
It gets him,
It
doesn't
gets
it?
him. And Windows, who, if you ever saw The Warriors, he's one of the Warriors. Yes, he is. And that same actor, I don't know his name, but he's in The Warriors for a hot minute. He's the guy that they throw in front of a Subway, sadly enough. Yeah, but spoiler alert. But anyway,
Don't get
Windows is the one
attached.
who catches this, and he's like, "Holy!" And he sees this thing like wrapping itself around Bennings, and it's all gooey, and it's like, and he's like, "Guys, it's got Bennings," and when they go back, it's gone, and then they look out, and what appears to be Bennings is running off into the darkness, and so they sound the alarm. They all head outside with flares, and they surround Bennings, what is now Bennings. And, it's this very famous scene where he's like, "It isn't Bennings." And the guy looks up and his hands are all aliened and not quite transformed yet. So they stopped him before he could finish
Oh, they
becoming
interrupted the
him.
thing happening.
So it just roars at them and they set it on fire. So this is how they are now realizing we're f***ing dealing with something awful here that's like actually taking us over. And the docs, the science guys are like, "Hey, so all of us could be exposed. Any of us could be this thing. And we all need to watch each other. We all need to, prepare our own meals, drink our own water, don't go anywhere alone."
Have they figured out that the thing is like basically picking them off one by one?
Oh yeah, by this point they are like for sure this is strange. Wilford Brimley actually goes nuts, Blair. He destroys their communication equipment, kills the rest of the dogs that could get them out of there, sadly. Destroys the helicopter, like sabotages it, sabotages all their tracked vehicles. Basically makes sure nobody can leave. So they get freaked out by him. They lock him in the shed because they're like, dude, you're going crazy. He starts shooting at them, too, when they try to stop him. So he's like, guys, you need to watch it, but it could be this one person. I don't think it's that guy, but it could be this other guy. So there's a lot of finger pointing. It's a lot of paranoia. At one point, everyone is convinced that it's Kurt Russell because one thing that is a consistent, I guess, theme with this creature is that when it takes you over, it tears through your clothing. So if you find like tattered clothing, then it got you.
But that's a problem because Kurt Russell's a badass in all of his movies,
yeah.
and you know his wardrobe takes a ding. He's probably been
I
a
don't think
badass
these
in
guys
this
knew
film
that.
at this point, right?
Oh yeah, he's great. The very first time you see him, he's playing like one of the old.
So he's looking at
he's
the-
playing the old abacus chess on like the old like Windows like one.
So
you know
he's
what I'm talking
looking.
about?
I do.
He's looking
Yeah.
at like a fray in his shirt, and he's like, "Was that me being cool, or am I gonna die from this alien?"
No, it's great. Like in that
Like,
first
doesn't
scene,
know.
he's playing chess. The game obviously beats him, so he just pours bourbon into the into the hard drive. He's like, "You cheating bitch," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy's awesome."
That's awesome.
So I mean, Kurt Russell sets the tone for his kind of character. McCready.
Have a drink.
Most
Yeah.
of us Russells are badasses.
Yeah, there you
Really.
go. Are you of any relation?
Kurt Russell, yeah,
Potentially.
yeah.
Oh,
Kurt
sweet.
Russell's his dad. You didn't know that? Our producer
oh, man.
is. Yeah,
I
his
loved your
dad.
brother in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
go.
think there is like a some sort of like familial.
I can
something.
see it. You have the
He's
fuzz.
from
You guys all have the fuzz.
That's how what you
Yeah.
just said right there, Avery, is how you can tell like what genre of films people get pigeonholed into. Because when I talk about Wyatt Russell, I talk about him from Goon. In the second Goon
yeah.
movie, he plays the enforcer from the other team.
He's also a really funny character, and everybody wants him.
Well, it's the thing is, like, I don't think people realize, like, Wyatt Russell about to explode on the scene. Like, right now, he's doing a whole bunch of small films and bit parts, but, like, he's up and coming.
fantastic in Under the Banner of Heaven on Hulu. If you haven't watched that show, it's about the real life murders that took place in 1978.
Are you forgetting about Overboard?
Oh, yeah, the greatest horror film ever.
But that was with Dad. That was with Kurt and Goldie. Right?
Goldie
That was-
Hawn. Yeah,
That
Goldie
was-
Hawn.
that
Which
was-
I'm like, if those are your parents, that's like a heavy torch to carry. And
yeah,
you
I
gotta live
failed
up to
miserably.
that.
It's true. It's true. So,
Circling back to Kurt
all right,
Russell
so
in
Blair,
Antarctica.
Blair is destroying everything. We're pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell could be an alien or just badass. We're not sure
Yes.
because his clothes are torn,
So they do lock him out. They lock him out of the outpost at some point when they're convinced it's him.
which is like outside in Antarctica.
Outside in the fucking cold. Yeah, they lock him out because they hope
brutal.
Yeah, but he breaks in, and they're all like he barricades
he
himself
does.
in like the storage shed, and they're all like, "McCready, get out here!" And they're chopping through the door with an axe. And as soon as they get inside, he's holding a flare and a stick of dynamite. And he's like, "Anyone with me?" And we all go, "Now back off."
He's like Nicolas
It's
Cage in
awesome.
National Treasure.
Yeah. And one of the guys tries to jump him, and he shoves him. He's like, "I'll meet it, guys. I'm gonna blow us up." And it's this dude named Norris who appeared to be having heart palpitations. He's this poor.
Is it Charles?
No,
It's not Charles
not
Norris?
Charles Norris. It's
Okay.
just, I don't actually know his first name. It's just Norris, and he's this big jolly fat guy who everyone was like, "Oh, like poor Norris. He's having heart problems or whatever." So they take him to the infirmary, and McCready's sitting there with his flamethrower. Incendiary unit, as you would call it. It's clear these are all M1 flamethrowers, by the way. Like they're literally World War II relics.
Sweet.
And like, it's the best line of the movie is him telling everybody to back off and like keep their distance. And Keith David, if you know who Keith David is, he's a black actor. He was in Platoon. He's got the very like distinct voice, and he's played a lot of that. He was also the CIA director in Agent Cody Banks. Had to make a reference. I'm sorry.
Frankie Muniz?
Yes,
Oh
it
my
was.
God.
But Keith David's been in a bunch of stuff.
I hate that I got that.
You know who I'm talking about right
Yes,
now, Keith
yes,
David.
yes,
So
yes, yes.
his character's name is called Childs, like Childs. That's his last name. Everyone calls each other by their last names at this. There are no first names apparently, but Childs is looking at McCready and he's like, "Well, you know what? There's still 8 of us and 1 of you, and you got to sleep sometime." And McCready's just like, "Well, I'm a real light sleeper, Childs," holding the flamethrower up, and I'm like, "Oh, it's such a good comeback." And this whole scene is interrupted by their medical doctor using a defibrillator on Norris on the table, and when the defibrillator comes down, it goes through Norris's abdomen. And,
Well, that was unexpected.
and the abdomen becomes a mouth and bites the doc's hands off. eats the
So what do
defibrillator.
we have happening right now? Just absolute this thing. Like, have they identified what's happening, or are they still
know
in the
that it's
don't
in
know?
there. They know that it's could be any of them, but they don't know who.
Because we've
Pat.
taken a
They
long
don't
time.
know
I'm
who, Pat.
confused
By what?
just the chaos. These people are
Exactly.
So they don't know even at this point.
They
in the
don't know
film.
who is who. They don't know who is who. It is complete paranoia at this point. They all thought it was Kurt Russell. It turns out it was good old Norris. Now because of their mistake, the doc just got his hands bit off and he's dead instantly. It's a weird like off-screen death because he just kind of screams and then falls to the floor and makes no more noise. Moves no more. But then this is probably one of the most freaky shots of the whole film because like Norris's body just erupts and like a little head comes out of the stomach and it's got gnarled teeth and it kind of looks like Norris, but it's got sharp teeth. It looks like one of the most horrific monsters ever. And like, like they start burning it. And so then Norris's normal head splits off from the rest of the body, grows spider legs and starts to try to crawl away. And one of the other guys is like, "Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding
This is
me."
insane. This movie is nuts.
It is batshit, and they burn
This is
it.
1982.
This is 1982.
So it's probably cheesy, gory too.
Oh yeah, but it's clearly like prosthetics, and actually I learned this from Stranger Things, and I confirmed it because I looked it up. They used melted like wax they were like it was superheated wax and melted bubble gum to make like the gooey like stretch stuff.
Well, the
of it.
the wax head things was real popular because
Yeah.
that's what they do for the Indiana Jones trilogy too.
yeah.
That's all wax.
Yeah, the melting faces. So it's
Yep.
the same prosthetics and like all that good stuff.
All right, so let's take us to the end of the synopsis. I want you to tell me your favorite scene from this movie.
So I was just about to get to that.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Yeah, my
Yeah, let's
favorite
do
scene
it.
of this
No, let's
film
go.
is the blood test.
I'm the rabbit hole guy.
Yeah, I know. The infamous blood test. So McCready, since he's now vindicated, and after he gets jumped by one of the other guys and shoots him in the head, he ties everybody up. And he draws blood and he says, you know what? Seeing how it reacted in there, how Norris reacted and every little part of him tried to get away, like any part of us would try to get away too, and that's how we'll know who is the thing. So I'm going to draw blood from everybody. You're going to put it in your own little cups, and I'm going to burn it. So he heats like a copper wire in the flamethrower. He starts stabbing at the cups of little like sampled blood and has everyone's names on it. He gets through like 4 different people. And a lot of people are like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Like, you shouldn't be in charge. And he's like, it's funny you guys should say that because you're the ones tied up and I'm not. And like, we get to Palmer, a guy who... I gotta love the guy. He's smoking massive reefers like the whole movie.
You just casually now mentioned you got some stoner just doobieing it the whole
got
film.
huge blunts at some point in the movie, and you're just like, my God, dude. And they get to him, and Gary is like last. So he's like, Gary's like, this is such bullshit. And McCready's like, it's funny you should say that, Gary. You were the only one who could have gotten to such and such and so, and you're running things. He's like, that's why we're going to do you last. And as he says it, he hits Palmer's blood, and it goes, Blah!
No.
And it's Palmer. And so then Palmer freaks out. Mind you, everyone's tied to the same fucking couch. So, like, it like, he starts to transform, and they're all like, get us loose. And it's like this real chaotic scene. Should mention there's no music during this whole time.
That's
It's
interesting.
just dead silence. Minus the dialogue, obviously. And everyone's screaming, everyone's freaking out. And, like, Palmer thing flies up to the ceiling and attaches itself to the ceiling. And Windows, the other guy who got checked first and he had given the extra flamethrower to, McCready's like, hey, man, you got to burn him, burn it. And Windows is like, okay, but doesn't. He gets too horrified. He gets frozen and the thing drops down and bites, like his head splits open, revealing teeth, bites Windows. And so there's this really almost comedic scene of this thing throwing Windows around because it's got him head first in its mouth. And his feet are kicking everything, and it's clearly like a dummy, but it's like
This is
so
terrifying.
fun. Oh, it's fucking horrific. The first time you're seeing this, and everyone's still yelling. There's still no music. And finally, McCready sets fire to this thing because the whole time his flamethrower is malfunctioning. Like it's like low, the tank's low. So he finally catches fire to this thing. Palmer thing dives out of the wall, goes outside, and like collapses in the snow on fire. And McCready throws a stick of dynamite and it explodes. And unfortunately for poor Windows, he is now infected. He's in a corner, all covered in goo and blood and all this shit. So they have to burn him too. And like at the end of the scene, everyone else is fine. And Gary's like the last guy they check. So he's like, now, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but if it's all the same with you, I would rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch. And it's like the best.
That's funny.
It's the best scene ever. So it is definitely one of my favorite scenes from the whole film. I'm not going to spoil anything else because you should definitely check this out if you haven't.
I mean,
I
I haven't.
see how
I'm
it
gonna
ends. If
watch
you
it.
want to see who survives, definitely check it out. Like it's so damn good. It's John Carpenter at its finest, and this movie has become a cult classic, I believe, in a lot of the horror communities. For its practical effects, for the use of the soundtrack and the very minimal use of music, and just the setting. It's so eerie. I love horror movies that take place in the snow now, I think, because of it.
All right, curveball to you that I didn't put in our original criteria. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, 1 being not at all. What's the gore factor of this film,
Oh, like...
in your opinion?
I would say 8.5 to 9.
Wow. Like
Like
this is
not,
up there.
not like, okay, that's an extreme. So there's not really... It depends on your definition of gore.
Like, I don't mean like cheesy blood, but like violent deaths, like things they don't just imply on camera. Like, do they sometimes, like, some movies like imply the thing that's about to happen, like the beheading or the, I don't know.
I would put this,
burning alive.
So
A lot of people have been burned in this story. Like, do they show it a lot?
Well, it's not like severe burning. It's just like
It's not like
Clear-
Indiana
it's-
Jones melting.
no,
Right.
Okay.
but the way that people transform, it's the transformations that are gory because it's human bodies bending and breaking and ripping in ways that shouldn't ever be seen or happen. So I would rank it at about an 8,
All
maybe
right.
an 8.5.
I'm down with that.
It's awesome. It's just such an awesome movie. And I don't usually like gore, but this movie is just so cool.
All right. So, The Thing by John Carpenter. That's not the first time or the last. I'm sorry, that's the first time, but not the last time that we're going to hear from John Carpenter tonight. We're going to go curveball. We're going to go to our co-host, Matty B, actually going to change it up. Producer Parker's working on something behind the scenes here, so we're going to jump over to Matty Borders here. He's going to go back in time a little bit further than 1982, I believe. Matt, where are we going? What movie are we watching?
We're going to the black and white era because I really enjoy the old black and white horror movies. And we're going to go to one that kind of starts it all, 1922's Nosferatu.
Yes.
And
That's a solid choice.
thank you. And Nosferatu is a complete ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
100%.
Well, you know.
Yep. And actually,
Were ripoffs even a thing in 1922?
it is enough that they get it's a financial bomb because they have to pay back the Stoker estate.
Imagine if they had social fucking media.
So I was about to ask you that question. So it's not a film adaptation. So the Stokers did not say, okay.
no.
Bingo.
Okay,
Yep.
that's a big
And
deal.
that's why it's Count Orlok. That's why it's all of these various names. But what's interesting is that if you get it now, like my copy that I own, they must have done some deal with the Stoker estate later on because it is Count Dracula nowadays. It is Nina Harker. And
Even
it
if
is-
you watch it, they don't call him Orlok anymore?
not the version I have at least.
Because I feel like I've seen it only 2 or 3 times, but I feel like I've seen it as Orlok. I knew there's been some deal made because the family licenses it all now.
Right, and what's interesting about that is that when it went to trial for taking the idea and
like a
running
court
with it.
case.
Oh yeah. When it goes to trial, the judge orders all of the copies of Nosferatu destroyed. But it doesn't,
Purge it!
But it doesn't work in Germany, which is where it was made, and so
So the court case is here in the United States.
correct.
Why is it here in the United States? It's made in Germany, and the Stokers aren't American, are they?
My question to piggyback off that is what production company released it?
That's
Was
a fine
it Paramount?
question.
Was it RKO?
We could probably look back into that if you don't
I
have that
will have-
offhand.
I will
Because
have
if
to
it's an
look into
American
that.
production company, I could see why. Then maybe that's why.
Sure, I get
yeah,
that.
you're right.
That's interesting because I think I remember this part of the destroying of the originals, except for Germany, because original printings are super rare of this film right now.
Yep, exactly right. The director's fascinating too. He dies at a really young age.
I heard that.
Yeah,
but
he's
I didn't-
41.
I didn't know how he died.
Does he finish the movie?
No, he finishes this film. He's in the States by the time that happens because he moves to the States. He's working for the Hollywood companies.
Okay.
He does 3 or 4 films out here. He never is able to see the first showing of his last film. He dies in a car accident before he can make it to the filming.
In 1924 4?
something like that. Yes,
Car
And-
accidents.
Yeah, 19.
They're brand spanking new.
Yeah, he's 41 years old. His chauffeur was 14 years old.
Yep, sounds about right.
That would do it.
Lost control of the car. He
Yeah.
he
Could even reach the pedals.
yeah, exactly. He winds up knocking his gourd in this traffic accident, and he apparently doesn't wake up. They take him.
Well, yeah, I mean, head injuries are super serious. We're
So
watching on the
this is
NFL
why
right now,
we
right?
have airbags and seatbelts now, people.
That's right.
Because of this car
This,
accident.
this very course.
Wear your seatbelt.
All right,
Only
so
took 50 more
take
years.
us through the story of Count Orlok / Dracula, because I'm a big Bram Stoker guy. When we did the writing version of this, program, the last couple of years, I think that was one of my leadoff movies. I just watched it today prior to us recording this, and I was thinking, because I knew you were going to be doing this film, and I was like, wow, like this is, and I didn't know that it wasn't like a licensed. Like
Correct.
Nosferatu wasn't a licensed adaptation,
didn't
because
know
as I
either.
was watching Stoker's, knowing you were doing this, I was like, wow, like this is the exact same story. Like what an inspiration. Like I was thinking, not rip off, but my brain was in that world. Like this is really close, but apparently this is like a pirated version of it.
It is basically. It is considered, though, a masterpiece of expressionist media, specifically, which was extremely popular in Germany at the time when he first does this film. And nowadays, when you look back, it's of course it's a black and white and it's a non-talkie. So they've got the cards that come up when they're doing any sort of dialogue. But it's really expressive gestures, big eyes, big faces, things like that. It's overacted.
I mean,
by-
Orlok is terrifying looking.
Well, Orlok's amazing, and Max Schreck does a great job on his the whole production of that. But for particularly the Harkers, they seem a little overly dramatic, bigger movements, big faces when they're smiling and things like that. And that's just the expressionism. Of
well,
the
we don't
time.
have speech,
Right.
so we got to
And
show it.
They're trying to
Yeah.
convey a
We don't
lot.
have like basic audio either, do we?
Right, exactly. You can see them talking, but you can't hear it.
Right.
And so they're trying to do a lot more with facial expression and things like that than we really see today. So it's overacted in a lot of ways. But you do have a lot of your classic characters, though, as you pointed out, Pat, they are different names. But Renfield's in there. He's just
As Renfield?
he's got a different name. But
Schmenfield.
the Americanized version of it now, it is Renfield.
Sure.
And he is batshit crazy.
All right.
Just like he is in Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's honestly borderline creepy. He's not doing the whole Little Lives thing where he's eating bugs
Eating
half
bugs,
the movie.
then like each life I give gives me life.
Right, exactly. He's not eating bugs half the movie.
Master
but,
is coming.
but he's doing that a lot. He's doing that a lot. He's like hanging on bars when he's in the asylum and shaking stuff. And he gets away at
It's
one
like
point.
Sam Rockwell in Green Mile.
Good reference. I will admit, one of his scenes is a little disappointing because he escapes the asylum at one point, and it becomes very Keystone Cops after that. Like the whole town of Brennan is chasing after him, and you can almost hear the
Benny Hill music?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
You can almost exactly. And there's like the little old ladies in town are trying to look scared, and then there's 40 people chasing after him, and they're all pointing different directions and
Would
everything.
Buster Keaton have been proud of the,
I think he would.
The guy's going from one door to the next, like Scooby Doo in the background. Oh my god!
It's
So
like
what's the
Adult
basic
Roses.
plot of this? Like, I mean, I don't.
It's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right. So take our listeners through it. So Count Orlok is basically trying to do what?
He's not trying to get to London like he is in Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's trying to get to Brennan,
Right.
in Germany, and what he's looking for a new place.
Right.
Outside of Transylvania, it's time to get some new blood, get on the scene
Yeah,
again.
he's impaled everybody in Transylvania already. They're all dead.
And so Jonathan Harker has to go, which is the original character's name, Thomas Hutter. But Jonathan Harker, he's sent to Transylvania to do the paperwork, to visit with Count Orlok or Count Dracula and convince him to, yeah, Brennan, come on over. We got a place set up for you. How convenient. It's just right across from me and my fiance's place, which is super creepy.
So this is the guy who Keanu Reeves will eventually play in the Stoker film, the guy that goes
Correct.
to do all the paperwork?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And they do the classic scenes of cutting his thumb and Orlok basically almost borderline sucking on his thumb
Yeah,
because
he's
it's blood.
into it.
Yeah, he's into it, exactly.
Hey man, do what you love.
And Orlok is amazing looking. Okay?
yeah.
This is not Gary Oldman's Dracula.
I was gonna say, don't get there. Okay, because you're
I
about
was
to.
about to ask.
Well,
where
you're
this
about to.
relates to Vampire's Kiss with Willem Dafoe and.
Well, no, that's not the name of that movie. That's called In the Shadow of the
In the
Vampire.
Shadow of
And
the
I was about to
Vampire.
bring that up. Don't get there yet, but
Yeah.
because that's how I discovered this film.
Yeah.
Oh, Vampire's Kiss is Nicolas Cage. My bad.
Yeah, so In the Shadow
I'm
of the
a vampire!
Vampire. In the Shadow of the Vampire is the movie about the making of this
Correct.
movie.
Which is my number 2.
Okay, cool. So let's save that for a minute because that's how I discovered Nosferatu. I want to talk about that,
Right.
but get back into this, man.
So Max Schreck's portrayal is not Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is not Bela Lugosi in Prince of Darkness and the other black and white era
Also, a great
Universal.
John Carpenter's movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Bela Lugosi. I love the Universal Pictures monsters, all those. But this is not a suave, debonair.
That's the mask Parker's wearing, I think, today.
Aristocrat.
I think Parker opened our show with a
there you go.
traditional Bella, because I think I had the Frankenstein one to start this with.
Frankenstein's monster, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a almost rodent-like vampire. Very long claws, very sharp, pointed front teeth. Not fangs, but almost like a rat's teeth.
Yeah.
Kind of crunched.
that was really good.
Dude, the
was
sound
really
effect
good.
just
That was amazing.
For everybody listening, that was not a dubbed in sound. That was Matt live in the studio, dude. 4 seasons almost of doing this, the most impressive moment of the show. I'm sitting next to the smartest man I know, and that's what gets me right there. Oh my god! But yeah, the teeth. I mean, he's a scary looking dude.
He is, and the way he moves is fantastic because it's very decrepit in his motions, and he's using those big long fingers of his.
I mean, he understood the assignment as far as like how to move through space. First of all, does he look like that naturally?
No, and that's a really good question, Pat, because Max Schreck actually, there are supposedly, according to IMDb and the other movie sites and stuff, supposedly at the time there were people who thought he's a freaking vampire.
Yeah, because I guess he
Like-
stayed in makeup and everything.
Yeah, and so there was some real concerns by people in the real wide world that he might be a vampire.
Yeah.
Because
if
he
goes
played-
out during the day and eats plenty of pizza with garlic on it, the guy's not a vampire.
true.
Freaking noobs, man.
It's true.
I'll tell you what.
But he killed at this role.
Yeah.
And my 2 favorite scenes, because again, he comes to, in this case, Brennan instead of London. They do the classic kind of, the first mate of the ship is kind of strapped to the wheel, and that's what gets the ship into port. And there's this really weird scene, though. I don't know if they just didn't have enough cast members, or they wanted to show that not only is this decrepit-looking guy also physically very powerful, because Count Orlok goes down into the bowels of the ship, puts his coffin on his shoulder, and walks off with it.
Nice.
And he's just wandering through Brennan looking for this house that he wants to
With a
buy.
coffin on his-
with a full-size coffin on his shoulder.
No, he's jacked.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm really strong, but I don't think I can shoulder a coffin.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a call out right now to our producer Parker and Avery
Present.
because both of my guys here are sci-fi guys.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. I'm here for you, man.
Star Wars.
Here we go.
No, go in the
chill
other.
out.
That's later.
Go in the other direction.
Okay.
Just chill. Right.
Star Trek.
Deep Space Nine.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Deep
Okay,
Space Nine.
I'm with you.
He has such Quark vibes.
Oh,
In
yes,
the way
he does.
he's in the way
You
he
know what? He does.
dresses, the way he's using his facial.
100%.
I mean, I would be very curious if the phenomenal actor who plays Quark had ever looked into
Armin
Max
Shimmerman.
Schreck. Yeah, Shimmerman, thank you.
Yeah.
If he ever looked into Max Schreck and how because just the way Quark moves at times and the way he uses his facial features and whatnot, very, very similar to Max Schreck. I highly recommend this movie for anyone who is interested in physical acting because of everything that's being done with it, but also in the practical effects of the thing. Obviously, Count Orlok or Dracula is not carrying around a full-size, full-weight coffin, but they did something there to make it look right. But what was particularly impressive, my 2 favorite scenes in this film, both have to do with Orlok.
Okay.
The one of them, it's just using light and shadow. It's the famous scene
The
of him.
stairwell.
Oh,
the
yes.
stairwell.
Yes.
Exactly. When he's moving up to Nina's room, and all you see is those big ass claws coming up the stairs.
Yeah.
And the way they shot that was fantastic. The other scene also has to do with Nina. It's because she has decided to basically sacrifice herself.
Right.
Because she's read the Book of the Vampire, and supposedly only one with a true heart can defeat this plague that's come upon her town. 1838, all these people in Brennan are dying. Well, it's because Orlok's in town.
But don't worry, Matt's coming. He's got his plague doctor mask.
That's
He's
right.
going to save everybody.
I got a lot of garlic. So the Orlok is into it. He's totally into to drinking down on this young lady,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and he loses track of time.
Oh.
And
He's
there's
like, girl, you fine. I forgot to kill people.
That's right.
No, I forgot to jet home. Is what happened.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to go back
Yeah.
to
I didn't walk.
Pennsylvania.
I didn't
I didn't bring
leave
the coffin
immediately
with
after
me.
this.
He is
time.
draining her dry, and then
Like Hot
the-
Shots?
and
Like
then
that scene in Hot Shots?
Yeah, exactly like
I got a better one for you.
and then they do the classic rooster crows, and he looks up and he looks almost exactly. He's looking slightly to the side of the camera, but he's basically looking right at the camera, and it's just this bestial look of Count
Horror.
Orlok,
Yeah.
and also that kind of oh crap,
The sun's coming up.
the sun's
Yeah.
coming up,
That's
and then he
when
kind
you
of
stayed out all night and you're like, damn, I had a wild night. I lost track of time. Like,
And he kind of drifts out in front of the window, and he's looking through it, and then he just kind of fades away. And they do a fade away as opposed to like a bursting into flames.
So
or
the
something like
implication, though, is that the sun does him in. He's
that. Oh
over.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
toast. Yeah, he's
right.
toast. And then Nina does not survive. Apparently, it ends really quick. Like that's almost the end of the movie right there. There's not a whole Jonathan Harker being like, "Oh my God!" blah, blah, blah. He's run off to get the doctor, which they never call him Von Helsing, by the way.
Well, that's probably too on the nose. You'll get
Yeah.
sued right away with that one.
yeah.
They just keep referring to the guy as the doctor, and he's not that doctor either.
No, not the good doctor. No.
But yeah, by the time they get there, they discover she's gone, and that's the end of the film.
Wow.
That's it.
Super tragic.
How did you
Yeah.
discover this film?
Like I said, I'm a big fan of the old black and whites, and I've discovered this a long time ago because I've always had an interest and a fascination in vampires. I probably started with Prince of Darkness and Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi and things like that, and just kept going backwards to see how far it went back film-wise. And this is one of the oldest ones I've found.
All right. I'm a big fan of this movie. So that's Nosferatu, 1922. For all of you out there, if you're a big World War I guy, this comes right after the end of our conflict. So, just continue your studies.
And the director fought in World War I.
Do you have any info on that real quick before we move on?
Yeah, he fights for the German Empire. He is in their Air Corps.
Oh, he's a pilot.
He's a pilot, and he would eventually
He would have been with von Richthofen.
That's right.
Well,
Ace?
I don't know if he's
No.
necessarily.
he's not in
not in his
Josta,
Josta
whatever.
11.
Josta
Yeah.
11, yeah.
I didn't find any reference to what Josta he
He's
was
up
in.
in Josta 12.
But he actually does become a bomber.
Oh.
He's involved with some of the early bombers.
some of those huge planes
Those
they
planes
end up
that just
flying?
were like, all right, let's load as much ordnance as possible onto these things.
Yo, for those of
Like,
you who just hung out with us on the Western Front for our World War I air episode, you might remember some of these massive planes that Matt and I are talking about right
especially
now.
the
Because
German planes, my God.
a lot of the ones that I was exclaiming, that looks like a bird. A lot of these were these huge bombers and things like that. So very cool. Parker, are we
Yo.
good to go behind the scenes, bud?
I believe we're good to go.
Sweet.
I think so.
Behind the scenes.
That's why we pay you the big bucks here, brother.
I know,
To
I
handle
mean-
it. To handle it.
Wow. Let me just have a drink of Moxie here.
Woo!
Take-
He's got a lot of moxie here.
He's taking care of business tonight, folks.
It
It
tastes
just looks like oil from here.
Well,
It
it's
is
what
oil.
it tastes like.
It really adds to like the whole like Halloween sinister aspect.
Yes.
He's actually drinking
It's
blood
just
on
potion.
the show.
It's just potion.
That's
Yeah.
it's actual. This is really my face.
Oh,
That's
wow.
so
That's
funny.
impressive.
So yeah, I actually, as I was listening to you guys talk, my movie of choice has quite a bit in common actually with a lot of your movies here. Actually, so there's a little bit in common here. We have a frozen monster who gets thawed out.
All right.
We have a guy famous for playing Dracula, Christopher Lee.
Go on.
Count Dooku is my Dracula, just so you know.
Right on, right on.
I want a T-shirt made. Can we get me a T-shirt that says Count Dooku is my Dracula?
When we're done with this, I have a Christopher Lee rapid question.
Okay.
In fact, I'm interrupting. I'm doing
Do
it
it
now.
now.
When
Do
you
it
think
now.
of Christopher Lee, what movie? Go. Avery. On the spot. Think of it now. Drop
sorry.
it. Moving on. Matt, movie.
not Shadow of the Vampire, but Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Cool, you're fired. Go ahead.
Horror Express.
You're fired. Go ahead.
Attack of
The House that
Clones.
Dripped Blood.
Fired.
How about this?
He was gonna-
How about? Oh, I got one.
I-
The House that Dripped Blood.
I am very so Parker. I don't know that reference. That's
Man-
another reference you
Man
make
with
that
the
goes over my head.
golden gun.
I'm
Hey.
looking. I'm going to look at my co-host, and I'm going to look at our guest, and I'm going to tell you both right to your face. I'm disappointed in both of you.
Wow.
I'm sorry, sir.
Because there's only one answer. Once he became this person,
Oh, he's
all
the Lord
things
of the
were
Rings.
irrelevant.
Saruman.
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, you're
Sorry.
both fired.
I was gonna say Two Towers, but see,
How
we
about
were
Charlie and
talking
the
Star
Chocolate
Wars
Factory?
beforehand. and
Two
I-
Towers. I was just going to say the franchise as a whole.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
He's the
fair.
first white
That's-
wizard in our
that's
lives.
fair.
All right, chill out with that.
No, you chill out, son. You chill out.
Take it down a notch, McCoy.
We have come on your show to talk about this guy.
That's true,
By the way, we still
yeah,
give
no, maybe that's why. I don't want to dig up the bullshit from the episode that you
where
were
we
on.
give Denethor a break.
No, Denethor sucks, and we're not going down
No.
this rabbit hole. We're not
Denethor.
going down this rabbit hole. Parker,
Yes.
help.
Okay. So we're going to talk
I'm
about.
flustered.
All right. So we're going to talk about Christopher Lee movie.
Oh, thank God.
Now, guys, Pat, you can leave the room. We're going to talk for a second about some Star Wars.
No.
This
Halloween
movie
special.
stars Dooku and Tarkin.
Yeah. Who were best friends.
Bickering is
apparently.
pointless.
Yes. This is bickering is pointless. Curiously, I think he's actually playing a little Tarkin.
Oh,
Peter
Peter Cushing's.
Peter Cushing is definitely going full Tarkin in this a little bit. He's got a little bit of he's a little bit friendlier, obviously, because he's a little bit more British gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
But he's definitely he's definitely got some Tarkin going on here.
I hope
So
his boots are more comfortable.
oh, I think they will. I think they were.
I hope he
he's
didn't
got a
have
nice.
a foul stench in this one.
He's
either.
got a.
That's it. That's it. I'm done.
Oh, he does. There is a foul stench.
Ooh, there is
a foul stench. Okay, so let me take you back in time. We're going back to the year 1906.
Oh, we are going back.
To Manchuria.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
When Christopher Count Dooku Lee.
Christopher Count Dooku's.
Are you giving us the story of this man's life?
I am.
No,
He's-
don't do that.
Anyway, no, I'm telling you when the movie starts.
Oh, I thought you meant
is
like
the
I thought you were
synopsis.
telling us when
This is the
Christopher Lee
synopsis.
was born.
No.
I was like, Jesus.
No, I'm not doing that to you guys. I love you too much for that. No, the interesting thing about 1906, though, is in the movie, one of the characters goes, "Oh, you British." And I'm doing a British person for a Russian person. I don't know why, but she's like, "Oh, you British people and your Queen Victoria." And I'm like, "Dude, Victoria's been dead for 5 years. Get over yourself, man." Movie, check yourself before you wreck yourself. This Farb. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
1906. They're like Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Okay, so we got 1906. We've got 1906. We've got Christopher Lee. He is on an anthropological.
Anthropological. You
Anthropological.
got it. You
There we go.
nailed that.
Anthropological
Good job.
expedition in Manchuria, and so he's out somewhere, and he is looking and he is searching on this mission, and
Looking
he
for the
finds in
Manchurian candidate.
and he is
I was
looking
waiting for it.
and he finds this cave, and in this cave there is a frozen ape monster.
I can already tell how dramatic this is going to be. Parker loves telling dramatic stories.
So the frozen ape monster is what Christopher Lee's character of Dr. Saxon believes is the missing link for human evolution. And being an anthropologist from a very, very affluent British scientist, he realizes, of course, this is a really big deal. I got to get this guy back to Europe so I can get this stuff published.
All right.
Publish this. So he gets on a plane. He gets on a train. There's no planes. It's 1906. He gets on a train, and he starts heading back to Europe. On this train is his pal, who in the story is his rival, but they are also friends, and that is played by
I like
Peter.
playful rivals.
Yeah, there's Peter Cushing.
That's Matt and I. That's really Matt and I at this table here. Like, we're both Rangers. We love each other, but I'm going to be a better Ranger.
Right.
I have
So-
no doubt.
No. We got to break that. In seriousness, that is an impossible feat on this show. Matt is the man.
Nice.
All right, moving
He
on.
is actually.
Moving on.
You're all the man.
I
love
am
you guys.
a man. I have a beard.
Anyway.
Speaking of somebody who doesn't have a beard, we got to touch on it for a second.
Oh,
Do Avery,
no.
what happened to your
Here we go.
face?
Up while shaving, so
Oh.
All right.
I had to shave it all off.
All right, well, Avery looks like the youngest man in this room, and he is, but
He
he
actually
looks the
is.
part
I surely
now.
don't feel like it.
Oh.
It's been a year. But
It's been rough.
all right, no more beard chatter.
I'm just-
I haven't had a beard most of this summer, so now that I have one, I want to throw it in everybody's
Oh,
face.
so you
So Grant, so,
you, yeah.
so
All right, Parker, take us to 1906.
Parker.
All right, so Grand Moff Tarkin and Count Dooku are on this train. Their names are important. I don't care. Nothing's important.
I'm going to be so
monster-
confused. Our listeners are like, Star Wars made this movie?
The monster.
Yes.
The monster is important. The monster is important because,
is important. Sir.
of course, Grand Moff Tarkin wants to. Who's Peter Cushing's character? He wants to know what's in the box
Weaponize it.
because apparently he's turned into
What's in the
Brad Pitt's
box?
character at this point, and he's like, "What's in the box?" And he hires somebody to break into the box. Of course, by this time, the monster has started to thaw out a little bit, right? Unbeknownst to Count Dooku, he didn't. His sorcerer's ways had not conjured enough to finally whatever. Anyway, I couldn't make that connection. I tried. I
It
tried.
was close.
folks. I
It was
tried.
close.
Anyway, the real sorcerer's ways are had by this monster who's slowly thawing out. So the monster is really what the movie's all about, and the monster is really, really cool. And when you think of early, look, this movie was made in 1972. It's directed by Eugenio Martin. It's I think made for a budget of less of one of our episodes.
Oh, wow. This is a shoestring show, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, Avery, you mentioned the term spaghetti western. It's really funny. On the way up here,
this is a cup of noodle western.
I was
It's way
thinking,
cheaper.
I was
Miso. It's miso.
Pizza western.
I was thinking that this is really like a spaghetti horror, and the thing about it is that like I love this stuff, and that's something I probably should preface this with too. Is this the scariest movie you're ever going to see? No. Is this the most blood curdling movie you're ever going to see? No. But this is got some. I'm a huge fan of this whole genre. The Christopher Lee, Peter Tarkin, Vincent Price. Oh, I love Vincent Price.
Vincent Price.
The audience who is not privy, of course, to the text message stream that we had going. There were I had a short list of 30, 40 videos that I was like, yeah, let me do this. This is my favorite. There's so many of these really, really good ones, but this to
You
me is
did have
really-
a hard time selecting your
I did,
favorite.
and you and I,
Our
I was-
group chat shows that.
Yeah, I was selecting back and forth, but ultimately I landed. This is one of the first movies of this genre that I showed my kids, and ultimately that's what determined me liking this one, putting it at the top of the list.
Did you hold their eyeballs and eyelids open?
No,
to
they
make them
actually
watch
enjoyed it. They actually enjoyed it. They actually
that's
they
a
loved
nice
the
family
cheese.
memory.
Yeah, they love
The holding the
cheese.
eyeballs open.
No,
Yes.
terrifying your children.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, my
yeah.
dad did that.
Well,
so I'm with
listen,
that.
there's no point in having kids if you can't ruin their life.
wow.
That's, anyway,
You heard it here, folks.
that's the whole reason you have.
Yeah.
No, but what's really interesting.
Do unto others as they were done unto me.
This movie though it's got it all. It's got all the cheese, and this movie
the
is
cheddar.
all of the cheddar. And this is like one of those movies where it's just classic, old late '60s, early '70s. Let's make a really cheap horror film. We've got a really great idea for a monster. Let's get him in a confined space and go.
Is it a B film?
Oh, this is a
Sounds
D
like it.
film.
Like it's a D
It'd be a
film.
little nicer.
This
I'd
is-
say it's like C.
it's
like a
C.
B minus, C plus.
Well,
It
okay.
passes.
Anything with Christopher Lee in it is worth watching.
He carried
True.
this movie on his back.
Absolutely.
It's an A then. If
Absolutely.
Christopher Lee
Peter-
carried it,
and
it's an
Peter-
A.
and Peter Cushing helps. Like,
Yeah.
they both carried this
yes,
movie.
anything. The House That Dripped Blood, by the way.
Yeah.
That another
That-
one. That's another great
Another
one.
one.
That's another great Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee.
That was a DJ Khaled.
It's great.
moment.
Anyway.
I didn't intend.
Oh, let's talk about that movie too. See, like I said, the short list was a mile long. Anyway, let me get back to the monster here. Because
Yeah,
the
get us-
monster,
get us through the plot
The
of this
monster
film.
is really what's important here. So there's some rules you've got to really think about when you think about this monster. There's a bunch of rules here. So here's the first one. He kills you by looking into your eyes in a dark room.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Don't be alone with the guy.
yeah, but darkness kind of gets more as the movie goes along, because this is 1972 and we don't have dark episodes of Game of Thrones yet.
Oh, the darkness gets
Oh, so
darker.
you're saying like it's hard to see.
Well, the darkness gets lighter is actually the thing. Like they get tired of shooting because they run out of money and ideas to shoot it into darkness that they need. So they're like, you know what? The audience gets it. Let's just have the lights on now. And he starts killing them, and it gets lighter and lighter. But
Weird.
Yeah, but technically speaking, the lights have to be off. So, but anyway, he kills you by looking at you in a dark room. and then, you know, the plot needs to happen.
You know.
So the plot,
Like, I guess we should
As-
write
as
a
one
movie to
does.
this scene.
I mean, I think this is how it happened. I think they were like, look, we got Peter Cushing, we got Christopher Lee, and we got a train set. What can we do with that?
A train set.
Well, let's and Eugenia Martin, I'm him now. Okay, so let's throw him on this train with
That's what he talks like.
let's have
Sounds like a real
let's have it
Italian.
be a psychic 8.
What part of Italy are you from?
That part.
the part of Italy
You missed a golden opportunity to tell you from the Italy where the meatballs are. and
Oh
the
my
spaghetti.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
If you have listened to this show, we have gone down the Gabagool road more than once.
That's true.
We're not going to go down it, but
Gabagool.
you missed a good Tony Soprano chance right there.
I
Easy,
missed
Tony.
it. I missed it. Okay, so anyway, you know, the every now and then when he kills you by looking at you, depending upon who you are and what plot needs to happen in the film, you also inherit a crazy monster hand.
Oh, cool.
Also, when he kills you, your eyes turn white.
But are you
all right.
still dead?
Yes.
I mean, so you
So
don't
what's
get
the
a
point
chance.
of having the crazy
You
monster?
don't get a
hand?
chance to use
unless
the monster
plot,
hand?
unless the
it's the
plot
strong
needs you
hand.
to.
Oh.
So the plot
It's the good hand.
needs so
Strong
the
hand.
plot does need one guy to have a monster hand that's under a glove for some reason.
There's that Hollywood meeting. There's that dude who has said nothing the
I want
entire.
this pitch meeting. I want to see
Like,
this
I wanna
pitch
see
meeting.
it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's this Avery. Avery's been sitting in the back of the room this entire pitch meeting, and then he just chimes in and he's like, "So what about the guy with the monster hand?"
What's the
And they're
monster
like,
hand going there?
So
they're like, "You son of a bitch! Why didn't you mention that earlier?" You're
Monster
right.
hand.
We need one guy
throw
with
it
a
in
monster
there.
hand.
So now here's so he sucks. The reason why your eyes go white is because the monster sucks out all of your knowledge. The monster sucks out all of your knowledge through your eyes, and in the process
Feel bad for
boils.
the monster.
Also boils. He also boils your brain in the process.
Well, I already
So
did
what,
that.
so what he
I was gonna
does.
say, like,
So
does
what
he
he
not know
does.
we're human?
Right. Well. So he's not. He's not human.
I know, but he doesn't know about humans as well.
No.
We are already hard boiled, my
But
guy.
neither does the film. Oh. Because if you actually another rule for the monster, if you want to know like the history of his life and like just do reruns of his history, you just stick a needle into his eye and you suck out the eye juice and you put that onto a microscope slide. And you look at it under a microscope, and you can see all of the monster's memories.
Isn't there some stupid kids jingle about sticking a needle in your eye?
Oh my god!
I'm sure
Please
there
don't.
is, but
oh,
I don't think it got it from this film.
no. And the other thing I got to mention too is, oh, by the way, it's an alien.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an alien. It's an alien.
Figures.
It's an alien
It's
creature.
always aliens.
Yeah,
Aliens!
it's an alien that landed
What
here
is it?
about like 10 million years ago or whatever, and it just kind of got its way through different creatures, and whenever it feels threatened, it
It's the
stares
thing.
at somebody.
It's the thing.
It is the thing. Whenever it feels threatened, it stares at somebody, and then it doesn't suck your brain out. It puts its brain into you.
So it
So it's
hijacks.
literally like the thing.
It's hijacking.
Yes, yes. So so what it does, of course, is it takes
Kind of a
all of the
low
different
jack hijacking.
low
jack.
low budget hijacking,
Low budget hijacking.
low budget hijacking.
Go,
So
go with it.
Oh, great! This guy watches NASCAR.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
If you watch NASCAR, it wasn't a real dig. Just turn right every once in a while. Jesus.
Right, right.
And
So
completely crash.
there's so of course it's an alien, right? And there's this brief point in the movie, and they never really fully flesh it out. They never really explore it. But this monster is kind of interested in 1906 Russian steel tech.
Yeah, Japanese Russo
Yeah, I was
War.
gonna say there's
And-
a war happening.
Yeah, and it's talking about like, and it's kind of alluded to the fact that this guy is going to try to build a spaceship, but it's not really, like I said, it's not fleshed out, it's not explored because movie, and movie has to happen because we have to get to the part where Telly Savalas has to be pointlessly shoehorned into the film, and he plays.
I was like, who's Telly Savalas?
Telly Savalas is he's a Kojak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's just there because he's a Russian police officer, and he's called because he hears about all these murders on a train, and somebody like is telegraphing him like,
Oh my gosh!
Oh.
It's like
I
Murder
said this
the
on the
Orient
sh-
Express. Meets
I
The
said this
Thing.
in pre-production.
Yeah.
I said that
All right.
Parker because
I'm
Parker, even though all of us live mostly within a few years of each other. Parker is like emotionally 25 years older than the rest of us. I said you were going to throw
25.
Yeah, 50.
Just 25.
I said you were going to throw out references half of our listeners don't get. And he's like, who's that? It's Kojak, right? Half our listeners are like, what is
I know
Kojak?
Kojak.
Well, that was a reference.
I also know that they tried to
Kojak?
reboot that with Stuart Townsend and
yeah.
Gabrielle Union. It was only around for
Oh.
like 6 episodes.
Wow.
But it was actually really good.
Wow.
Right, because young people were like, what is Kojak?
What is a Kojak?
What is a Kojak?
Isn't that the camera?
No.
Isn't that the
I
camera?
apologize. Not Kojak. I was thinking of Kolchak.
Kolchak.
The night.
Yes, the Night Stalker.
Night Stalker.
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah. That's the
My
one.
bad.
No,
That's
this
the
is
one. My
Kojak,
bad.
not, it's an anti-car theft device.
Right.
Right. So
close.
one of the people who the monster, so the monster infects people. One of the people that it inhabits is the
McCready.
the very
I'm just kidding.
No.
no Wilford Brimley's there
It's
too.
diabetes.
is on the
Diabetes is there.
All right, I'm sorry, Parker. I'm sorry.
No, but one of the people who's infested by this space demon creature is the very cop who's on the train trying to investigate. What? How could this be? So it's like it's wild. So Telly Savalas gets on the train. And we don't know why. I don't know why he's in this movie. It's like he signed a contract though because everybody else
in the area.
he kills at a glance. Just like dark room, dead.
Oh my God, they were playing bodies,
Dead.
bodies.
Dead. Yeah.
What?
And then he
I will
has to
explain that later.
And then he has
Yes,
to like
you will.
and then it's like he comes to Telly Savalas and it's like Telly Savalas like had written into his contract like, okay, look. Here's what I'll be in your dumb movie. Just let me hang out with a bunch of half-naked broads and I'll be in your dumb movie, but I'll let him kill me, but there's 2 conditions. One, he has to stare at me extra hard to make me look more macho. And then you got to make me come back as a zombie at the end of the film for like 30 seconds because all of a sudden, this monster
Yeah.
has that ability.
That seems like he got that from like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
A little bit.
Like,
A little
seems like
bit.
he got a lot of inspiration from other spaghetti
a little bit.
pictures.
A little bit. It's very it's a very 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 odd thing. So but the thing about it is it's just it's a great fun movie. Great fun movie. Not tons of gore. Oh, but you know what? The monster is actually pretty good. You know, it's 1972. It is clearly a dude in a suit. But again, as a person who enjoys this level of cheese, as a person who really enjoys this kind of, this genre, if you look at similar monsters at the time,
Yeah.
this is actually pretty good. Like if you look at other monster movies like Creepshow, for example.
Yes.
If you look at, Creepshow,
Like, is it? I was gonna ask, does it look like that thing?
it kind of picture like that,
just
just
thing in
about
the crate.
yeah, just about eight or
That thing was scary when
just
I was
about
a kid.
now imagine that about 8 or 9 years ahead of time with like one glowing red eye.
Oh,
and that's
okay,
your
yeah, that's
original
terrifying.
monster. So it's pretty good. There's a train crash at the end of it.
I do like train crashes.
This is, they have to, it's one of those things where like finally the ghost demon alien creature ape thing is living inside of like this Russian priest who's turned evil, and there's this really cool scene where
And his name was Vladimir Putin.
yes. Yeah. Ooh. But like the whole movie, they spend the entire movie making fun of this character, and finally he has enough of it, and he realizes that this monster has all the power, and he wants the power to torture these guys, right? So he's sitting there, the current host, and this priest. They're like the current host is dying, and the priest is sitting there next to him, still not knowing that this monster isn't actually an alien.
How many people have died at this point?
Oh.
So he couldn't. Anyway,
Like, it's
continue.
time.
I'm
Time.
We don't have like a
I
Hot
don't have
Shots
a lot of
Part 2
time to
kill
poke all
counter in
these
this
holes,
movie.
but yeah.
Right, a lot of people
A
died.
lot of people have died.
So they, so anyway, he's the priest is kneeling next to this dying host
Yes.
creature guy, and he's praying to him in this. Thine is the kingdom, thy will be done, on earth as it is in hell.
That's very
and
Russian.
Wow.
yeah, that was not Russian.
Over the top.
But it was, but that's what I love about it. Like this guy's acting was just like, and that's also the thing too. Like he understands, like he thinks
so
this
bad
guy's
it's
in
great.
him. Exactly.
Like, it's so
this
fantastic.
guy, he believes that this creature is in hell, yet he still wants to worship him. Anyway,
Satanism.
I'm
is a
actually
thing.
more confused with Parker's selection than I am with your
I was
selection.
going to say, buddy,
yeah, it's
Satanism is great.
Great, though. It's great. It's great.
That's what I took from that.
But also some really good things to take away from.
Okay.
As far as like some memorable scenes.
Yeah.
The eye thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
The eye thing bothers me. I have a thing with eyes. Stay away from my eye. Get the
Ooh,
needle
don't
away
see
from my
Final
eye.
Destination 5. then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Fire in the Sky. Don't watch that.
Don't watch that one.
And
no.
there's this one part, and I love practical effects. I love practical effects.
As you
hence,
should.
Hence my love for these old movies, right?
Yeah.
And one of these effects that they have, they figure out that basically he's boiling these people's brains out, and, and basically they cut open the victim's brain, and it's just smooth. It's just smooth. There's no wrinkles.
Like it doesn't have like the brain
It's
look.
not like a
Exactly.
brain.
It's like silly putty just rolled over.
It's just smooth.
It's just soup.
It is just smooth.
It's just cream cheese.
And they say, get this. This
Sounds
is
delicious.
This
Yeah,
is
right?
this is like this
Brain
is
cheese.
science. Apparently, they're
very
like
good.
every one of those wrinkles represents a memory. He has no more memories. All his memory,
I didn't know you could physically see memories.
you can if you stick a needle in the eye and look at the juices from the eye in a microscope.
All right, scientists out there, find cadavers or find volunteers and
I know, right?
Prove it.
I wish
See if
that
we can do it.
that'd solve every cold case pretty much.
right.
And the other and
right.
the other thing that we need to talk about is it didn't win any awards. As you
I'm
know.
not shocked by this one at
hey,
all.
it's okay. 'Cause
But
neither
I
did
I
John Carpenter's The
personally
Thing.
Were the
I-
Razzies around at this point? Because it might have won one of those.
No, here's what it would have won. Here's what I nominated for right now.
Greatest movie ever
Parker
made.
Russell. I am nominating Horror Express for best use of an HO model train set.
Yeah, honestly, if the train makes it, then that's the important.
My
It's-
dad
it's-
is going to love what you're about to say as an
It is-
HO scale train guy.
It is the best use that I've seen in a 1972 movie that was made for under 300 British pounds. It's the best use of an HO scale train in that setting, and for that, it's my pick.
And see, it's
Horror.
It's films like that make me tell people today. I'm like, you know what? I know there's a lot of quote unquote bad films out
Oh, yeah.
there, but let's just. It's always been around.
It's
Yeah.
been around.
It's always been
forever.
around.
It's been
Like,
around forever.
It's
And
nothing new.
it's a-
Movies haven't gotten worse. They're just the same. They're just the same.
This follows that typical formula, and I kind of mentioned this earlier. It follows that typical formula of, okay, we have something spook. We have a spooky idea. We need to get you to the part, and we need to get you there. The first, I think it was it my oldest or my youngest son? One of my kids. We were
Yeah.
watching it again. He was like, "This movie takes place essentially in one spot." Like they never go anywhere, and they're on a train.
It's on a railroad.
And it's and it's like think about all these crazy movies. It's like, oh, the horse went limp. We got to stay in that house. Oh, we found a creepy monster, and I got to get to England. Let's get on that train. And so all of a sudden, you're in a confined space with a monster, and that's the formula.
Honestly, you've made me want to watch.
That's a good
this.
point.
I really
Yeah.
want to watch. This
Yeah, I'm into
movie.
that.
Thank you.
I think that could be fun.
It's and when you watch it, I want you to watch it with think about, and this is what I say to any of this stuff, because nobody's sitting there going, oh yeah, this is really believable. I believe this international spy lady is wanting to date 105-year-old Peter Cushing.
I mean, I would.
I mean,
I know plenty of my friends who probably would too. They like them old guys.
But it's like, yeah, but watch this movie. I like to watch it, and I like to think whenever I see any of the Vincent Price stuff, whenever I see the Peter Cushing and the Christopher Lee stuff, I like to picture myself as a teenager, as a kid,
Yeah.
whatever, just getting into that theater and seeing those effects for the first time. Not, this is a world pre-Carrie,
sure.
pre-Christine.
Where are we? 1972?
1972. So this is a movie that's
10 years before The Thing.
before The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a year in front of The Exorcist, so we haven't had young girls puking, turning their heads around, being very vulgar with crucifixes. Like, we have had none of that yet.
Right.
Exactly. And there is a little bit of crucifix. There's a little bit of crucifix action in this movie
Because
too.
of Satan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That dang
So-
Satan.
All right. Well, moving out of Horror Express.
Yeah, Pat, why don't you take us home here, buddy?
I am excited to follow that one up. Not really, because now I actually want to watch that movie. I have known that I wanted to watch The Thing for a while, so that wasn't a hard sell. I've seen Nosferatu a bunch. It's one of my favorite movies, obviously, as a Dracula guy. Parker tried to text me what this movie was about, and I was like, dude, this is chaos. Like, if you are friends with Parker in real life, you know Parker can text you a lot of information much quicker than you can text him.
Yeah.
So I am, like, reading this, and I am like...
take it back.
And I am like, this movie is confusing. And I'm like, I wanted to watch it, but now I actually want to watch it.
You are welcome.
So
You're
I'm
welcome,
excited.
Ghost of Count Dooku.
And I'm still upset at both my co-host and our guest that they didn't make the
You know
White
what,
Hand
you
of
can
Saruman
just
references.
Stop going
so-
down that rabbit hole and just get
no,
to
it's
the topic.
that's
buddy.
fair.
And you need to give
Denethor
Denethor a break now because as penance.
Now let's not get crazy.
As penance. So mine is not going to be a super crazy or maybe even a super well-known film. It might exist in the sort of
I certainly know. It's
in the bees. Well, yeah. So we said John Carpenter was going to get a lot of love tonight. So I have a John Carpenter film. For my pick, I am doing John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. Which is not a traditional Halloween film, but I saw it for the first time in my life right around Halloween, and thus for me, it became a Halloween movie.
Well, it's
literally
definitely
is like Firefly meets
Alien.
like Night of the Living Dead meets
Meets
Alien.
in like half
Yeah.
the thing because there's like ghost things that is, but whatever.
Anyway.
So here's the basic shtick, right? So we're set in the second half of the 22nd century, so we're way ahead of where we are now. We're on Mars. They've been terraforming the
like we'll be
absolute.
on Mars. At this
Yeah,
rate,
they've
my
been
God.
absolutely terraforming the crap out of that planet. It's basically like Earth as far as you can breathe for the most part on the planet
And it
now.
looks surprisingly like Arizona.
Yeah, it does look a lot like Arizona at night because the sky is black. Because they're in space, duh. Which question for you guys? How can you have an Earth-like atmosphere without having any like sky? Because like the sky that they're showing you is black, like outer space.
It's magic.
So it's like where's the ozone? Like anyway,
Well,
it's a John Carpenter
that's
film.
usually part of the terraforming process. Is like, how do we develop an atmosphere?
Right, that's what I mean. So, like, we're not the Science Things podcast right now, but you can see how we ask these questions all the time on the show. But anyway, so here's where we're at. So the society is like matriarchal, and that's not really any different. Like, I want to level with all you machismo dudes out there. You live in a matriarchal society. You think you live in a patriarchal society. Society does have a lot of patriarchal things, but if you're married, you have a girlfriend or a mom or a sister,
Yep.
you know you are not the boss.
Nope.
So can we just cut the shit? Stop pretending? It's matriarchal society everywhere, but definitely on Mars in the 22nd century. So they're building a bunch of cities and things like that. And in the wake of a bunch of like randomly sort of mysterious things that go on, the police force of Mars, just colloquially known as the Mars Police Force, is called out to sort of handle this. And Lieutenant Melanie Ballard is called before a tribunal to give some testimony, basically following a disastrous mission to one of these, I guess, outpost towns. It's called Shining Canyon. Real quick, before I forget, I didn't mention anybody that's in this movie. So we got some semi-big names in this film. So we've had some big names so far. Kurt Russell's a huge name. Christopher Lee's a huge name. I guess if you like Star Wars, Peter Cushing's a huge name.
Yeah.
I'm not a Star Wars guy, but
Okay.
have you guys ever heard of Ice Cube?
Sure have.
Yeah, let's go.
Straight out of Compton.
NWA. You ever heard of Natasha Henstridge?
I
have not.
There was a lot
Is
more
she
crickets
Elizabeth
than
Henstra's mom.
I have no clue. A lot more crickets than I thought we were going to get there, boys. Anybody seen the movie Species?
Oh, that's Natasha. Yeah, she's definitely.
She's the alien.
Okay.
Jason Statham is in this.
He must have been young.
He was
he's
very young.
very young, very
But he still
undiscovered.
sounds the same.
He is on the front side of being typecast, there for sure, because this is one of the sort of rock'em sock'em Jason Statham roles you're going to get.
course.
A young Clea Duvall, who not a lot of people know, but rounding out a pretty star-studded cast for this type of film, Pam Grier. That's
Yeah,
a pretty
I was
big
gonna say,
name in
Pam
this
Grier's-
movie.
yeah, I know.
Like, I'm not going to lie, some of these names, Ice Cube's a big name, but like this was still like right after Barbershop 1 was made. So like, so we knew Ice Cube could obviously make, cultural films and things like that, but like stepping outside of this world and stepping into something like a sci-fi ghost murder thing, like who knows? Like, so big name for sure, but like not a not an accredited actor yet. Like at this point now, I would say Ice Cube has acting chops. He's been in a bunch of serious and silly movies, and I like him in most of the movie he's in. So he's, I take him as seriously now as an actor as I did as a musician. But Pam Grier, pretty big name, for this kind of movie. So anyway, a bunch of crazy stuff has been going down at some of these Martian colonies, cities, whatever they're calling them at this time. Outpost Shining Canyon is basically the big one. And they're going to be sending out a crew was sent out, to Shining Canyon to retrieve convicted felon James Desolation Williams, played by Ice Cube.
Nice.
Desolation's a pretty solid nickname.
True.
And she, Lieutenant Melanie Ballard, played by Natasha Henstridge, is the lone survivor of this sort of thing. So when the movie starts, we're doing one of these Tarantino things. We're at the end. And we are kind of going to be through the testimony. We're going to be kind of reliving this experience. So through a series of flashbacks and things like that, and then some flashbacks within flashbacks. So we are going to get crazy in your brains here. Some new perspectives will be gained, and they're incorporated into the narrative. And Ballard basically will start recounting that her mission to Shining Canyon starts to go awry pretty quickly. She's accompanied by commanding officers, a bunch of, I guess, a guy like, all right, let's do it like this. Commanding officers, Helena Braddock, Pam Grier.
Yep.
Cocky Sergeant, right when I said Jason Statham's on the front side of being typecast, he is literally labeled as Cocky Sergeant Jericho Butler.
Even the name sounds.
And then you got some rookies out there. You got Bashira Kincaid and a guy named Michael Discaeno. So Ballard basically is going to get to Shining Canyon, and nothing is happening out there. It's deserted, and she's going to get to investigating the town's jail, and Braddock will discover a trio of individuals who seems to have locked themselves into one of the cells, and among them is one of the doctors, a scientist from the Science Things podcast.
There you go.
Who is out here sort of at this this outpost. Ballard and Butler are going to discover a number of disoriented miners and an escaped Desolation Williams. Remember, they're going there to retrieve him. He should be incarcerated.
That's a really cool name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of still stuck on
True.
that. One thing I'm not going to touch on a bunch is like the wardrobe in this movie. He's got a pretty cool outfit. I don't know if he's wearing.
They all look like bikers though.
but like Martian bikers.
Martian
they look
bikers,
cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's what's going on. So the group are soon attacked by several of the miners. So remember, Ghost Town, when they get there, things are starting to look weird. People should be in jail or not. And now some of the miners are starting to come out of the woodwork and attacking them.
And this is where I said that it kind of reminds me of Firefly, because it's like the bad guys in like the Firefly series. They're all like zombies.
Oh, I was going to say Reavers. Yeah, so a lot of the Ghosts of Mars absolutely remind me of Reavers. So before I even get into this, if you are a Firefly fan, as you should be.
True.
You should be. Straight up should be.
Yeah.
The Reavers, the ones we don't mention, the ones we run and hide from, even at the thought of them, that's what the main bad guys in this movie look like. But essentially, these miners are going to start showing up and attacking them, and it's going to force Ballard and Desolation to kind of band together to take them out. Ballard is forced to shoot and kill one of them. It's going to cause basically the affliction to be passed to one of the other survivors. So there seems to be a theme in horror where it's like, let's just have the thing be a ghost that can float through the air and just infect somebody else. So actually, that makes 3 films tonight where the entity thing can just jump from host to host.
You know what? It is scary.
I mean, it is.
Unpredictable.
It's a concept that I guess that wigs us out. That's 3 films that kind of hovered around that. That happened by accident for everybody out there. We didn't coordinate that at all.
And
I could never have told
vampires
you.
can produce as well with making new vampires.
Right,
so.
but they have to like suck your blood.
Right.
Your blood.
And then do
And
the
then kill
kiss,
you, and then you come
all
back,
that.
and then you feed before you die, and it's
And then don't eat garlic.
Don't eat
Stay
garlic.
way away from garlic. So anyway, so here's what's going to go on. So like a bunch of things are going to start falling apart. These miners are going to start banding together and attacking. And obviously Desolation Williams, who's supposed to have been in jail, and the Mars police force, all these people are going to kind of start realizing we have to ally with each other just to survive, because they went from exploring a deserted mining town to being attacked on the fringes to now seeing a bunch of these miners / Reaver looking sort of things coming out of nowhere and kind of overwhelming the scene at Shining Canyon. Desolation's people, his friends, his boys, they're going to show up. They're basically trying to break him out of jail.
not realizing they're walking into a shit show.
Right, but reinforcements. So this kind of works out. So what ends up happening is they're all going to leave together, but they realize now that the rail line they're supposed to ride in on has been incapacitated, and this isn't just a network of, I'm sorry, this isn't just a random occurrences of attacks.
Yeah.
Because we come to find out this is coordinated. There's a big bad guy. And this big bad guy is going to kind of coordinate this assault against this small police force and ragtag group of criminals turned good guys trying to survive. And the movie is going to kind of revolve around, this fight between the ghosts of Mars and the the humans trying to extract themselves from this overrun mining camp. And what's going to happen is basically it's a very gory film, so they're going to go from building to building, kind of shooting their way through them, standard kind of shoot 'em up.
It's kind of like Doom.
It has a
little bit.
hard
So many
Doom
Doom
vibe.
Sounds
vibes from
like
this
it,
movie.
yeah.
It's got a hard Doom vibe. And my gore factor, I'd put this at about a 7 or 8 because,
Yeah.
there is just senseless blood pretty much everywhere. A lot of maiming and mutilating and things
is
like
it just
that.
me or was there rock music in this?
There's a ton of metal in this
So yeah,
music.
that's why I'm like, this is Doom.
It is a ton of heavy metal. And then kind of tying into my memorable scene, because obviously, like I said, how this works out, right? Like, there's only one real survivor,
Yeah.
and that's, the main character, Natasha Henstridge's character. I'm going to spoil it because Ghosts of Mars has been out for 21 years.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, Jesus,
Where have
go
you
see
been?
it. Ice Cube also lives, but technically he's dead as far as the Mars police force is concerned, because when this is all over, she's not going to turn him back in. So she's like, get out of here. Go on with
He's
your
like,
freedom.
I see you round. He snarls.
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie, he comes and bails her out when the Ghosts of Mars make it to the main city. But I guess that's for a sequel they never made.
They never made.
They set up a sequel they never made. But what I like about this movie, and the thing that I take away from it, is this is one of the first times, among the first times, that a single, I'm going to call, when you're not the protagonist, because that's your main character. But like when you're the main bad guy, like when you're the main villain,
Antagonist.
an antagonist. When you're the antagonist, this is one of the very few antagonists that like physically intimidated me on screen, but it didn't last the whole film, which gets really weird. So when the main bad guy walks out, he is this massive dude. He is huge. He's easily over 7 feet tall. He's incredibly jacked. He's got
ass teeth too.
He's got sharp teeth, this crazy, scary, long black hair. He's got this weird-looking ghost paint makeup on. He's
like the Crow.
he
Looks
is
like the Crow, but like the Crow.
Imagine
got
if
bit by a werewolf.
If Brandon Lee got bit by a werewolf and also did steroids. This guy is huge, and the first time you see him is this really slow-mo walk out. A lot of the heavy metal playing, right? So the scene is epic. There's mass chaos. People are getting killed everywhere, and he's kind of slow-mo walking through it. And then he just starts crushing people. And then Jason's they get away from that, I guess, and Jason Statham's kind of looking over this ridge down at the scene, and he's just watching this huge hulking dude just beheading the crap out of people. So I'm like, 15, about to be 15. I think this actually came out like 2 days before my birthday, but I'm 14, 15 years old, and I'm like, wow, this huge dude intimidates me. And I'm still at this time in my life where I'm never ashamed to admit this, I even get night terrors now as an older man, middle-aged guy. I was 14, so my night terrors were like inconsolably wild. And so I'm like, man, I know I'm going to have a nightmare about this guy. And as if John Carpenter read my mind and felt bad for me, he gave this guy dialogue.
How did he sound, Pat?
Because this guy goes from being terrifying to, the moment he opens his mouth. So you see him, and he's killed all these guys, and they do this great scene. He's going to raise his arms up, and he's like, ga, 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 ma, ma, ma. And it's not scary.
He sounded like Bruce Dickinson.
Dude, he sounded worse. No, also don't.
Bruce
I am the
Dickinson.
man who walks alone. It just turns into Fear of the Dark. It should have. It really should have. That is not a dig against Bruce Dickinson or Iron Maiden. I'm just saying. I'm trying to imagine this.
I just pictured the Bruce Dickinson from the Saturday Night Live skit.
see the writings
Oh,
Different Bruce Dickinson. So
I was thinking of
not the Bruce
not the producer Bruce
Dickinson.
Dickinson, the legendary singer Bruce Dickinson. So here's what this lunches me out for, because I was for the first few minutes this guy is on screen, I'm like, whoa,
he's so scary.
Yeah, dude, he's terrifying. He's huge, things
Yeah.
like that. And I'm one of those dummies that likes to watch scary movies with the lights off by myself,
Well,
like
yeah,
you're.
as one does.
Yeah, supposed to, I guess. But I'm like, all right, I'm successfully wigging myself out. But then as soon as the dialogue happened, I was like,
That is the goal.
okay, like this is not scary. But for me, what was interesting was the only other time I think I've been physically intimidated by an antagonist on screen was in The Lord of the Rings, in The Fellowship.
Lurt. Lurtz.
the first Uruk-hai you really get to
Name's
see.
Lurtz.
Man, I mean, most times he's on screen, it kind of trips me out. But right at the end of that movie, when they're chasing the Fellowship down through the woods,
halflings.
but he's like slow mo
If he had
walking.
sounded like that, would that have been
when
scary?
when he's doing the slow mo.
Yeah, and when you see him coming up, and then like, oh man, dude, that whole scene tripped me out. Like, I have stupidly vivid memories of like mowing my lawn and like the sun going down and being like, I have to like turn and look over my shoulder because my dumbass brain's like, he's in my yard. Like, I was so tripped out by how huge and scary and imposing he was, and I had those same vibes with I think they call the character in Ghosts of Mars Big Daddy Mars, by the way.
Wow.
Like, I think that's his official character
That's
name.
unfortunate.
It's
Yeah.
dumb. But I was terrified of that guy until he spoke. And man, I obviously I don't
That-
care.
see,
In
that reminds-
post production, I'm cutting in the real audio of that guy. So all you listeners now have to suffer through that with us.
That reminds me of the College Humor Batman sketches. Where
yeah.
There's one
yeah,
where so it's
You
Pete
can see me still.
so it's where Pete Holmes is as Batman, and it's Batman finding his voice.
Right.
And he's going through all these different voices, and one of them's like, "Where are the drugs going?"
Yeah,
So now that's all I'm imagining. Where are the drugs going?
yeah, dude, it's
And
terrible.
it's like, dude, come on.
So what I like about that movie was a couple things. Obviously, I liked the character. The main bad guy scared me, and then it was kind of silly, which also was one of the big things to help me. Like, dude, these
Yeah.
are all fake things on screen. Get over it. You're about to be a real teenager. Like,
Be a man.
grow up. Yeah, so that was a big thing for me too. I also like the soundtrack. We talked about the heavy metal. I do love heavy metal. So like this was
Metal and
think,
horror
Pat?
movies are the
it is
best
Doom
bedfellows.
for sure.
Oh my god.
I always pegged you as a Carpenters fan.
Yeah, I love the Carpenters.
I see what you did there.
You mean being an actual carpenter?
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's just one of those movies that I like to throw it out there. I wanted to take a little bit different approach since we were doing this on film this time. Like we said, we've
Yeah.
written this out the last few years, and I picked Sleepy Hollow, which is a pretty straightforward and pretty standard story. Obviously the Headless Horseman, Ichabod Crane, Washington Irving's famous writing. My favorite adaptation, Johnny Depp's
It
version.
really is great.
I think it's the best version of that
Christina
story.
Ricci is gorgeous.
Also, not Natasha Richardson, but
Yes,
is it?
No,
who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
The mom?
Venthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I almost said Michelle Pfeiffer. It's not her. It's
not her.
It's like Haley Joel Richardson, I believe.
Haley Joel Richardson? Is that Haley Joel Osment?
Not Haley Joel
No.
Osment. That's a dude.
One of them. Yeah,
She's in the
that's
Richardson.
the
Hollow.
Sixth Sense kid.
And who's in Sleepy Hollow?
Oh, you mean
Darth Sidious.
who?
Is yes,
Yeah, he
Ian
is.
McDiarmid.
Yep.
The
he is.
Palpatine. The Palpatine.
Palpatine.
He's one of the heads of also the principal from.
Is he the notary? Is Palpatine the notary?
I believe
believe
I
so.
believe so. Yeah,
And then
Palpatine's.
there's a bunch. There's Dumbledore's.
Dumbledore's.
Well, I
in
know
it.
Dumbledore's
He
in
says
it.
the worst. He
Oh,
says the
I
worst
forgot he
line
was
in
in
that.
Oh yeah.
What does he say?
It pulls me out of the movie every damn
What's the
time.
scene?
It's when Crane is losing his shit because he's
Yeah.
seen the Headless Horseman, and he goes, "We thought you shot your bolt. Nobody's got bolt actions."
Yes. That's right.
No.
I wonder if
so
that's an
many-
expression from a different era, though. Or like,
Muzzle loading.
no?
No.
They just
Hey,
wrote it in wrong.
Casper Van Dien's in that movie, and he had just done Starship Troopers. So
That's true. Yeah.
Completely unrelated. One thing we're going to do with the History Things podcast down the road are going to be
Starship Van.
some maybe movie reviews of some fun things. And I think I found a new one. Speaking of Casper Van Dien, have you guys ever heard of this movie called The Warrant?
No.
It's a post-Civil War movie, like literally as the war is winding down, but it's like a one-on-one between two guys, and Casper Van Dien's in it. The guy that plays Buck Compton in We Were Soldiers.
Band of
Neil,
Brothers.
Neil McDonough. Neil
Shit,
McDonough,
Neil
or whatever.
McDonough,
He's
yeah.
in it.
He's great.
So I'm interested in that, but
Everyone thinks he looks like a husky, and it's really funny.
every time you bring up Casper Van Dien, I go right to Starship Troopers. But now my
And
brain is also
If you're a Stranger Things fan, his daughter played Chrissy in the first episode of the fourth
who
season.
Neil or
Oh,
Casper?
really?
Casper Van Dien's daughter.
Oh, sweet.
That's
His name's
that-
Casper. How weird is that?
I mean, it was a name. Before
Speaking
it
of
was a
honorable
ghost.
mentions, the movie Casper, the Friendly Ghost. Like, I'm just kidding.
Another
Yeah, I was
great
gonna say
Christina Ricci
Christina.
movie.
So yeah,
Is
absolutely.
it though? Is it?
Any
When
movie
we
she's
were-
in
I
is
mean,
great.
Bill Pullman's great in it.
Any movie she's in is great. So what I'm going to what I'm going to do here is transition us into honorable mentions real fast.
Yep.
I just because there's a lot of movies we wanted to talk about, and obviously we've ran long here. So what I want to do is just kind of quick. We're going to start with Avery before the sales pitch. Just a quick honorable mention what you love about the movie.
Okay, so these are werewolf movies. They are my top 4. Yes, there
Wow.
are 4, not 3, but 4 because I couldn't really.
Avery
leave
says
one.
your limitations.
Exactly. So I'm counting them down here. At number 4 is Bad Moon. Came out in 1995. It's an awful movie. Has awful dialogue and the acting is awful. But the werewolf makeups, the effects, it's fantastic. It's my favorite design. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Bad Moon, 1995 werewolf. It is the best werewolf design I've ever seen in a movie. Plus, the main hero of the film is a dog. It's a German Shepherd named Thor, and it's the dog fighting the werewolf. And spoiler alert, the dog survives.
Wow.
And
Nice.
wins.
All right.
So it's great. Number 3 is oh god, no. I'm blinking. Silver Bullet, 1985.
Okay.
It was a Stephen King novella
Oh yeah.
that they turned into a movie, and it is the 80s movie of 80s movies because it's got Gary Busey in it, it's got Corey Haim, R.I.P., and a couple of other like somewhat like B actors in it, but it's great because it is just pure 80s like horror. There's the music's great. It's just it's
Like
a fun film.
cheesier than The
It's
Lost
so
Boys?
Oh, it's so oh no, not as bad as that.
The Lost
Not
Boys
as
is
bad
a
as
great
that.
movie.
I
This is-
love me some Lost.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
but
yeah.
if you like Lost Boys, you will probably like Silver
All
Bullet
right,
too,
okay.
just
I
for the
gotta watch
cheesiness.
this
The only
now.
thing is the werewolf design is crap. It looks like a teddy bear rather than a werewolf.
Sick.
Number 2 is American Werewolf in London.
Ooh, good one.
It's
That's a good
classic.
one.
Good
It's
choice.
1981. It
Yeah.
has the best werewolf transformation ever caught on film. The practical effects are amazing. Plus, I really like the story. I like the actors. It's just fantastic. But taking the cake as the best werewolf movie ever as an honorable mention is 2002's Dog Soldiers. It's directed by Neil Marshall. If that doesn't ring a bell for you, Neil Marshall also
yep.
directed The Descent, which is the caving movie with all the women that get chased around by cave creatures. That is now a cult classic. So before he did The Descent, he did Dog Soldiers, which is a story about a squad of Royal Marines or British Army soldiers who are on a training exercise in the Scottish Highlands, and they encounter a pack of werewolves who then corner them in a Scottish farmhouse. And it's very much Night of the Living Dead meets Aliens meets Jaws, as these werewolves try to find their way in, and these soldiers who don't have silver are trying to hold them at bay. And the only thing they know is the only thing keeping the werewolves out is because they don't know how much ammunition they have left. It's really great.
Oh, nice.
Highly recommend it. It's hard to find anywhere, unfortunately, but it is on Blu-ray and it is selling, and it's worth the buy because, oh my god, it's one of the best movies
The
ever.
way you describe The
Those are my
Descent
honorable.
makes me think of a frat party.
Yeah.
Bunch of women getting chased around by cave people.
Oh yeah, no, it is absolutely a euphemism for a
Sounds
very
like a frat
creepy ass
party.
frat. But yeah, The Descent's a great movie, but Dog Soldiers is what launched Neil Marshall's career. And that werewolf design is my favorite werewolf design of all. They're terrifying because only the heads and the claws are wolf-like. The bodies are very human.
Oh, so this isn't like Twilight, which are the best werewolves on film.
Shut up, Pat.
I can
This
think
is
of a
what
worse
these
one.
movies, all 4 that I mentioned, make werewolves scary as hell.
All right.
Did you look up the Bad Moon when I see you?
I
on
did.
YouTube? Isn't that great?
It
Isn't that
is.
great design? Yeah.
All right, rapid fire to our producer Parker Russell here. Honorable mentions. Why? What movie? Why you love it?
Fright Night.
Good choice.
Yes.
Because you're so cool,
Yes.
Brewster.
Yeah,
Everything about that movie's great.
that was going to be your original choice.
It was, and you know what?
Why'd you walk that back?
Because
It should be
I
mentioned.
mean-
this is the. Yeah, that is the Dog Soldiers.
You know-
Werewolves. They're very good.
you know the thing about the reason ultimately Horror Express is I was hoping actually I do want more people to see it. So hopefully I was thinking in my head, maybe somebody will hear about Horror Express.
I thought he said I want poor people to see it.
Did, did he say
He
more?
said horror.
More.
Okay.
More.
I heard
more.
I want poor people to
I
see
heard
it as well.
poor people. Yeah.
Parker's buying
Parker,
tickets
I
for
will
all
see
you
the
poor
movie.
people.
Okay, I get
It's
it.
available
He
on
said the
YouTube,
pauper
folks.
line starts here.
Wow. Let me apologize. I meant more. The Moors. I said Moors. It says Moops. Moops. But I was hoping that maybe, some people would see this and just appreciate it for what it is. But Fright Night, if you think about it, it has everything in it. Peter Vincent is the vampire killer, right? Peter Cushing,
Yep.
Vincent Price, right?
Okay.
He gets his name from
That's
that,
a
right?
nod. That's a
it's
nod.
a huge
And it should be
nod.
noted, this is the old movie, not
This is
the-
1985.
not the remake.
Yeah,
The
this is,
real
I think
version.
I think it's
I
85,
enjoyed
right?
the
The remake was good.
You know something? I'm going to be very honest. I have not seen the remake.
It's actually very good.
Okay.
Colin
I
Farrell,
enjoyed it.
Colin
I'll check
Farrell
it
does a
out.
really good job.
I'll have to check it out because
I got a Colin Farrell movie I want to watch right now. Not scary,
and
but it looks good.
to call an audible to borrow a page out of Avery's book. I'm going to take one more.
Okay. I mean,
And
I got
that's-
multiple, so go for it.
Okay, Creep Show.
Yep, rapid fire. That's great.
What do you
And
love
Lost
about it?
Boys.
Oh God!
Those are both
All right,
horrific
you
Halloween.
throw out Lost Boys. You're done. Matty B. Honorable mentions. Go for it.
I was just gonna go with the one, and that's Shadow of the Vampire.
Yes,
Yeah.
good follow up.
Now, Shadow of the Vampire, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a 2000 movie with John Malkovich playing.
Or is that Willem Dafoe?
Well, so John Malkovich is the director.
Okay.
I thought Malkovich. No,
No,
it is Defoe.
Willem
He's playing.
Dafoe is the
Yes,
guy.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Because he looks like a vampire out of
Yeah, I
makeup.
know. It's like they didn't have to put makeup on the
Right.
guy.
I'm something of a scientist myself, you know.
But
Like,
it
calm
has-
down.
It has one of the best lines. It's about the making of Nosferatu,
Yep.
where Max Schreck is actually a vampire. They have hired William
A real
Dafoe as
vampire.
Max Schreck to play the vampire in the film, and he is just being a vampire on set. He will randomly eat people because that's what he does. And one of my favorite lines
Yep.
in
I hope it's what I'm.
one of my favorite lines in cinema. It comes from this film, and I'm suddenly blanking on the name, but shoot, what is?
What's the line? Well, hit us with the line.
No, it's the director. He's yelling at Shrek.
Okay.
You ate the
Yeah.
He said, donkey!
No.
No,
Different Shrek. Different Shrek.
Malkovich is yelling at Max Shrek,
Yeah.
and he's saying, "Why did you eat this person? You could have eaten the script girl."
Yeah.
Oh, he's telling him?
Yeah.
And Max Shrek goes, "I'll eat her later."
Ew.
And that's where Willem Dafoe just. Yeah.
He is so creepy when he's not in that role.
You know what'll make you feel better though?
Boondock
Just go
Saints.
and- No, well, that and
Well,
go
Boondock Saints
and
is
go
awesome.
and go watch Platoon. He's
Oh,
Sergeant
yeah,
Elias.
Yeah.
You're right. He's got that great death, right? That's
yeah.
that's who they make. That's the death in Tropic Thunder that they make
Yes.
fun of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
With Ben
abso-
Stiller
absolutely.
getting shot up.
What are your
Oh, man.
honorables?
My honorables are like a bunch of us. There are many, but mine are more in the family friendly category. Obviously, I have young children, and like a lot of us, but more
those?
seemingly more willing to admit it that I have not let go of my childhood as much as you all haven't either. But you don't seem to admit it as much. But like,
Wow.
Okay, I'll admit
shots
it.
fired.
well, you ready for this?
Yeah,
'Cause-
I'm a child at heart.
all right, well,
Shots
look,
fired.
everybody's suddenly owning it now, but I'm about to drop
are you
some. I'm about to
talking
drop
about?
some franchises that haven't been brought up once tonight. First of all, Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
Okay.
One of the best Hollywood. One of the best.
Sequel
one-
just came out.
One of the
It's
best
really good.
Hollywood films. One of the best Halloween films we're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
They just made a sequel, which we're not gonna get super into it. Not that great, but you know what? Loved it anyway.
still liked it.
If
Yep.
you hate on this movie, you're just a bad person, and stop listening to our
Wow.
show. At this point,
agree.
you
I
can't.
second it.
You can't. Everything can't be perfect, and that movie was awesome for being made 29 years after they should have made the sequel.
You know
for
what? It was
but-
relevant and
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus. Love the franchise now that there's two of them.
Ladies
The original
look
was
great.
great. The sequel was awesome. This morning I watched Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yes.
Hey,
Good
Vern.
old-
I've
Hey,
wanted
yep.
to watch that movie.
Tranter Troll was a terrifying thing in my life as a young man. You talk about as a teenager, I was a little scared of the Urukai for no reason while I'd mow my lawn and look in the dark places of my yard. Tranter Troll scared the shit out of me
I
as
had
a young kid.
Honestly, I had a really horrible nightmare once, and I remember
From
it was,
Tranter
it
Troll?
was about Tranter
Dude,
Troll.
I would run. There was this kid named Blake Astron, lived about 6 houses down from me, and I would dip out of his house. We'd be playing, like, go over to Blake's house and play, and it'd be time to go home at night. Fully street lit, but it was like I would run
That
faster than
Troll's coming for
Usain
you.
Bolt from his front door to my front door.
It didn't help that he was hunting kids.
No, that was the whole point. It
Yeah.
was children only.
Yeah,
So that
only
movie
went
was
after
fun.
kids.
And then I watched, as a result of that, Amazon tells you, oh, if you like this, you should watch this. So I can't resist a good opportunity. And so I saw the original series of Goosebumps,
Heck yeah!
which is
you
not
go.
a movie.
no, but those old school,
But the old school
shows
TV
are
shows,
awesome.
and as we were saying in pre-production, like R.L. Stein had no business writing stuff that scary for kids.
No.
because some of the stuff I watched
you
today,
never read the Fear Street stuff. 'cause
still
they-
kind of, I was like, wow, that's kind of creepy. I can't believe I watched that as a kid. So the Goosebumps thing, and then I'll close out my honorable mentions with perhaps the dumbest and most family friendly of all these offerings and honorable mentions. Land. I love the Halloween Town
I do too.
franchise.
I
I
do
can't.
too.
All four of them. I love it. And you know what? This is going to get even better because here's a nugget I just learned, and I might be sharing this nugget
bet
with
I
a
know
lot
what
of
it
you
is.
listeners out there. So, Halloween Town 2, which weirdly just
Electric
as
Boogaloo?
just
Calamar's
as
Revenge.
just as good as the first one. Sequels not often just as good, just as good.
I like it better.
You know what I found out? Marnie, main character, Cal, Calabar's son, in 2016 reconnected
Yep.
and started dating. And in the year 2022 are now engaged.
Aw.
So for all you Halloween Town people out there from Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge, Cal, young Cal, and Marnie are a couple in real life.
Which that gives me hope because she's 36 and she's just now finding love.
Oh,
I'm 30.
God, Avery. The
we're
real
not gonna
horror
get it- yeah,
story of
that's the real
tonight is
horror.
Avery's love life, and that's really what Halloween is about.
What love life.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't
So,
exist.
we're going to close our show out, though, with something a little different for Halloween fans out there. And I got to admit, personally, buddy, I've known you a long time. I've heard what you think about this film. I don't know that I agree with this sales pitch, but I love you, and I'm ready to hear it. And the floor is yours. Tell us why you have a sales pitch that a certain really famous movie is actually a horror Halloween movie.
Okay. I don't want to word it as a
right, all right.
Halloween film.
How do you
it's
word
a
it there?
horror film.
Okay.
And that would be 1975's Jaws.
Oh, here we go.
Duh.
I want that to sink in, all three of you.
Yeah, but this is a thing you like to do around Halloween is watch this
Oh,
movie?
no, but I'm
Okay.
saying it is a horror film. Because I will give you this, and this is why people don't consider it, and that's the biggest thing right there, is seasonally, it's a summer film.
Sure.
Takes place at the beach.
Well, you brought up winter and like right away in your first
Yeah.
story.
Here's the thing, though. So I'm going to point out the reasons why people say it's not a horror film. Biggest thing being, yes,
Because
seasonally.
they're wrong. Huh? Because they're just wrong.
I mean, they're wrong.
no
for
joke.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a horror
so
movie.
people will, playing. I guess this is me playing devil's advocate. I can understand where people would say it's not a horror film. It takes place in the summertime. That's not necessarily, the season that you would associate with spooky Halloween kind of stuff. Guess what else takes place during the summer, you asses? Friday the 13th. That's at a summer
Midsummer.
camp.
Midsummer.
Midsummer. Yes. So, let's not rule out the seasonal things there. The next thing that people will say, oh, but it's a huge blockbuster. Spielberg did it. It's not a horror film. John Williams did the score. It's not a horror film. First of all, let's talk about that score.
I was wondering if you
That
were going to go down this
score
road.
It's one of the
Is
scariest
one of the
pieces of
scariest
music.
pieces of music ever written.
100%.
That score had to have a parental advisory on it when it came out.
You don't
Because
even have
it
to
would-
play all of it. You just have to
don't.
play 2 notes from it.
Yeah,
Boom, boom.
and it's really terrifying. Just listen to that.
Is it true, though, that Steven Spielberg didn't like it?
No, okay, I wouldn't say he didn't like it, but it made his life a living hell.
Oh, yeah?
Because that shark could not work. It would not work. The
Oh, I
thing
heard about this.
short-circuited every time they put it in water.
Well, 'cause electricity and water don't go together.
They had to actually have retired Navy SEALs consistently dive down and retrieve it. I can't imagine what they would have seen in the murk of
Wait, they had
Martha's
retired
Vineyard.
Navy SEAls already in the 70s?
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
sure.
Vietnam.
That's serious?
Vietnam is the first time we have them.
Yeah, but like retired
It
Navy
was
SEAls?
1975, man, and
All right.
Vietnam was over.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I just didn't think that we'd already have retired SEAls. The unit,
I mean-
the unit isn't that old. UDT
But, okay-
and all that,
Okay,
that's still
so
relatively young.
real quick dovetail because Pat, if you were a Navy SEAL and say, I don't know, 1967, and you serve in Vietnam till 1970, you get discharged from the Navy, you are retired, sir. You could be young, but you are retired.
You're not retired. You're discharged.
Okay. Well,
You're
you know what?
discharged.
Either way, you're no longer active.
I mean, there's a bunch of veterans out there who go, where the is my pension after there's 3
okay,
or 6 is
and that's a
done?
whole nother issue we can get into at another
They're not
episode.
retired.
So, but the point is that the shark wouldn't work, and
Prior
so it was very
service.
stressful. So what they did, and this is going to help my argument, they had this system with the barrels and with a POV camera.
Uh-oh.
So in the film, excuse me, you're seeing the shark's perspective,
Right.
and you're seeing from below, and you're seeing people swimming. And God, if that's not freaking terrifying, because now I guarantee when people go in the ocean, they're going to think of that.
Well, here,
And this is
yeah.
my biggest point is that, like, how many of people out there have thalassophobia? Have fear of submerged? Or,
My wife, almost
Yeah.
everybody I know doesn't like to swim
The
in the
ocean is terrifying. And what is more terrifying than like not knowing what's below you, not seeing what's
No,
below
I'm
you?
with that.
Swimming in the
Right.
dark. I've scuba dived in the dark in like a creek, and it was the most terrifying moment of my life because carps came out of the dark,
Oof.
and it was like a 6-foot carp, and it literally made me pee my wetsuit because I just
Good
was
thing
like,
they couldn't tell.
I mean, they're also not. They don't attack humans.
No,
so thank
sure,
God.
sure.
But it was this thing. I'm like, you gotta
True
like, how is this
stories
not a
on the
horror
history.
movie when it plays on one of our most basic fears?
Yeah.
It plays on that most basic fear of the unknown of,
100%.
and the fact is sharks still terrify people. And like, but that's today. In 1975, people didn't even know what most sharks looked like. They didn't even know their names. Like they didn't know about hammerheads and bulls and lemons and black tips and white tips and all the different species. They just knew shark meant fin meant maybe the thing that sometimes attacks people.
Yeah.
They didn't even have these attacks recorded. Very little was known about sharks before Peter Benchley wrote the book. And like he based it on a real incident of like of the Jersey beaches,
Jersey
something that I've
man-eater,
talked about
yeah.
on,
I was gonna say,
on shows, multiple shows before.
I've been with you while you
Yeah.
talked a lot about sharks before.
And that stuff is nightmare fuel. I mean, dude, like a shark attacked 3 people in a day in a creek, in a saltwater creek in Matawan, New Jersey. So like this is something that really plays on those fears, and the music helps. But another reason people don't consider it, I've heard people say it's more of a thriller, because when it comes to creature features, they're more thrillers than horror movies. So anything that has like an animal, just a basic animal in it. So I'm going to use another movie from the time, because Jaws inspired a whole slew of different movies in the same genre. There's a movie called Grizzly, came out in '77.
Yes, I've heard of this.
It is really bad, but it's also really good.
It's Jaws with bears
It's Jaws
on
on
land.
land. It's Jaws on
With
land
bears.
with a bear. And then there's also Tentacles, which is giant octopus.
Yep.
But people are like, oh, but those really aren't horrors. Watch those movies. Watch those movies. They definitely filmed them like horror
See,
films.
this is intriguing
So-
because when you were texting me this, that you wanted to do this for my
Yeah.
own edification, or for my own sanity, I thought this was why this is a Halloween movie, and I was like, I'm interested in
yeah,
that
I'm
because from this perspective, this makes sense because I vividly remembered my dad telling me when he saw this movie in theaters, he didn't go back in
that
the
was my-
ocean
yeah,
for
that was
like
my other-
three or
Yeah.
4 different summers. He was like, nope.
Yeah, that's
Ankles
another
deep, that's
point I
it.
was going to make. I asked my mom, because Mom, she was born in '62. She was a teenager when Jaws came out in '75, and she's like, it terrified the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It was one of the most terrifying films anyone had seen, and I'm like, wow, 4 years later they're going to get Alien, and they're not ready.
Right.
So like, that's
it's-
the whole thing. I guess, yeah, I did make that clear. It's really not a Halloween film. It's not like the first thing that's going to jump to your mind in front of all the other movies, but you can very well watch it on Halloween.
I would
And
agree
it's
with you that it's
still-
a horror film. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
made people afraid of something.
Oh, absolutely. And this is my final
generationally.
And this is my final argument.
folks are,
This
yeah.
is my final arguments, my honorable mentions, all in one. The cast is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw. That trio had such great chemistry, which is funny because Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss did not get along at all times.
Well, you can see it in
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie. I mean, it's
Well,
awesome
the problem
in the
is
movie
Richard
because of
Dreyfuss
it.
is kind of a pompous ass.
Well, he's
but
a
Robert
douche
Shaw
and
was
I love
also
him.
was dealing with alcoholism at the time. He was also dealing with, I think his wife had died a year before, so he was dealing with depression and grief.
I mean,
and
he was his
drinking too much.
character on
he
the boat.
absolutely was. So there is a scene in this film, and you guys, if you've seen it, which you have, Quint talks about his experiences with the sinking of the USS Indianapolis.
Well, I was going to say when you mentioned a minute ago, like we didn't know too much. I was like, well, I've been with you through summer of 1916,
Yeah.
and we know about this story.
1945. In probably one of the best delivered monologues in Hollywood history.
Yeah.
Quint tells the story. There's not a shark in sight, but man, the music and his acting scare the daylights out of you. Where he's like, the thing about a shark, Chief, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes.
Yeah.
And it comes at you, it doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes
They
roll
flip in
over
when they're
whites.
white.
And
Yeah.
you hear that terrible high pitched screaming. The ocean turns red in spite of all the pounding and the hollering. They all come in and rip you to pieces. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
terrifying. And like what then
Well
fast forward,
delivered, sir. Well
spoiler
delivered.
alert, fast forward to the end where Quint dies. Man, rewatch his death. I'm going to send you the clip.
All right.
Because there's not music during it. It like the music builds. It's this great
And then
sequence.
cuts out.
So yeah, the music. He looks out. The shark. You see it coming in. You hear the drums like this, and then as soon as the shark breaches, music cuts, and it crushes the transom of the boat. There's no music. Quint slides, and you have to hear Robert Shaw scream his head off as he slides down towards the mouth. Nightmare fuel, first of all, because what would we do in a situation where we're sliding towards a mouth that's just like, come here,
Aim
I've
for
been
the
waiting for you.
jugular.
I've been waiting for you for a whole
yeah.
movie, man.
Oh, yeah.
and this shark, it was
yeah.
personal, and that shark takes him, and boy, is it not quick. because it's sitting there with him in its mouth and he's screaming bloody murder. He's spitting up blood. There's blood sloshing everywhere. Tell me that's not a horror movie.
No, it
death.
is scary.
Like, it's horrific. And it's so good. It's like probably one of my favorites. And I just recently saw the extended. There's more footage that they had to cut because it was borderline R. Because after the shark bites down and Quentin starts spitting up, the blood like spills into his eyes and he's like death rolling and stuff and he's gurgling. And I mean, it's brutal.
Wow.
It's brutal.
I actually want, and if any of our listeners out there are the people that don't think this is a horror film, please email us at historythingspodcast@gmail.com and tell us why you don't think this is a horror film.
And like I said, Devil's Advocate, I can guarantee some of those things will be like, no, it's too popular. It's a summer film. It's a blockbuster. It's a thriller. It's
if somebody
creature
sends us
feature,
an
it's not
email,
really scary.
Matt knows, sometimes I want to be sharper to some of the emails we get than I really am when we do respond. But like if somebody sends us an email and is like, this film's too mainstream, I'm going to be like, that is the dumbest reason.
Yeah,
Like that's just
and I'm
dumb.
I'm trying to like play
No, I
devil's
know.
advocate. And I'm trying to think of other things, and I guess people. The biggest thing is not everyone is scared of the ocean. I know people that treat it like it's their damn swimming pool, which they probably shouldn't, and they just go in. Also, they're like, sharks aren't scary; they should be respected. You got a lot of people who are very bitter at the film because, unfortunately, after the film was filmed, a lot of sharks were poached in record numbers. But another thing the film did was it sparked interest in marine biology. So if you weren't a Quint, you were a Hooper. And like
That's
people
right.
wanted to study sharks, wanted to
I'm
get
Quint.
in the ocean more. So there's a lot of reasons why people would not like be scared per se, but I'm like, but just the way it's filmed, the music, the effects, I'm like, can we appreciate that they made an animatronic shark for Christ's sake?
The
That
ride at Universal is
absolutely looks
terrifying.
terrifying. Yeah, and it's a terrifying looking creature.
All right,
So,
rapid fire. Quint or Hooper? Who are you?
Hooper.
Hooper.
We're going to need a bigger podcast.
That's right.
He's Brody.
I'm Quint.
Parker's Brody.
I'm Quint for sure. I feel like
We're gonna
am
need a
Quint
bigger
all
road,
day.
right? How do we handle this? And that's like one of my favorite scenes because the whole time Brody's freaking
Is
out.
it the first Jaws where he takes the rifle shot at the air tank, or is that the third one?
That's the first one. The
Okay.
third one doesn't even have Roy Scheider in it. We're not going to talk about
Right,
that.
right.
And that's another thing is that if this isn't a horror franchise, why'd they make 3 more of them?
That's right. That's right. No, that's right. That's right.
So
So awesome. Well, so Halloween's a fun time for us. Obviously, here on the History Things podcast, we cover a lot of obviously real life events that take place, and a lot of them are extremely physically and emotionally heavy. So sometimes we need to just take a break. So we like to do special things like Halloween and take a break, cut loose with our friends, talk about some things that aren't necessarily historical in the way that we might think they are, but they are in a way. We've talked about pioneering films. We've talked about some, and not just pioneering films, because you can have that in the 60s. The 20s now, doesn't matter, but Matt had a film that came out 100 years ago this year.
Yeah.
Parker and Avery talked about some films that basically launched a lot of what becomes standard imagery
like
and
the
plot
blockbuster,
points
yeah,
for
yeah.
what, because we obviously had 3 films today that kind of have the same, there's this ghosty thing that infects things. Could it be an alien? Because that's the one thing they don't really make clear is the ghosts of Mars, to me, technically are an alien because it's a thing that lives on Mars.
Yeah.
And just, when we uncover it through mining, so that's another alien thing. So there's a lot of these pioneering elements in film, which I guess could make them a historical thing. Thus, we touch it on the History Things podcast. If you are looking for, I guess, some clips of these, you can follow us on social media at the History Things podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We will share some clips from all these movies, some of our favorites, just so you can get an idea if you want to do a little research before you watch some of these films. But yeah, so you can follow us on our social media. Avery, where can people find you on the Instagram?
So I am on Battles and Banter podcast, and that is on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can find us on all major streaming platforms, mainly Spotify and iTunes is where I would go. I also want to make note, I do love sharks. I don't condone the killing of sharks at all.
I'm surprised we didn't hear anything about Sharknado tonight.
Nah.
Not a horror film.
It's not a horror
No.
film, and you never will.
Never will.
Never will hear me
Exactly.
say
It's funny because
It's not even in the
Avery
same category.
and I have presented together publicly before. And one of the times that we did this, he spent an entire night talking about the summer of shark attacks. So
1916.
I
about
was
the 1916
super
attacks.
pumped for him to talk. I don't know why. I love listening to Avery talk about
I've
shark
heard
attacks.
this.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I heard that.
It's a very fascinating history.
It's a shame that you wasted such a cool set of stories on such a weird presentation opportunity. Because
Sure did.
in hindsight, your stories were way better than the venue and host we got there. So maybe one day we'll have you back to do more shark stories on the History History Things podcast.
I got some, man. I got some in the arsenal.
I mean, just to back you up on your scary what's below you, I years and years ago, I was hanging out with a buddy up in Ocean City, New Jersey, and we were riding the wave runners in the bay.
Yeah.
That separates the island from the mainland, and I wiped out and I'm floating in the water, and one of the instructors comes by and he goes, you look a little scared. Are you okay? And he's like, it wasn't that bad of a wipeout. And I was like, dude, the wipeout doesn't bother me. I just realized there's like 200 feet below me, and I have no idea what's swimming between me and the bottom.
Yep.
It was like a great existential crisis. I love the ocean, and that stuff still weirds me out.
Bunch of bull sharks off New Jersey, so be
No,
careful.
thank you.
But yeah, no, and it's like that's the thing is, and this is my final parting note. We've only explored 5% of this planet's oceans.
Is that a real number now?
Only
Yeah.
5%
Yeah.
of the oceans have been explored in our
Yes.
time on this planet. So there is so much more down there that we haven't even seen.
Well, we're going back
yet.
to the moon, so
Well,
we're
we
not
know-
going to find it anytime soon,
We're
baby.
know
looking
more-
in the wrong direction
That's
for
it. We
aliens.
know more about outer space than we do about our own
I
planet.
agree with that, Avery.
Yeah.
I agree with that one hard. So we will get into aliens and space travel and all this other fun stuff in the future. This is obviously if you're listening to this live, watching it live, it's Halloween Eve. It's Sunday night, October 30th. But we want you to be safe. So head on out into the world this Monday, this Halloween 2022, with some pizzazz, with some excitement. Go get some candies. The world has kind of been shut down and closed over the last few years, rightly so. But as things are opening up, it's exciting to get back out and see some of the neighborhoods dressed out for Halloween, things like that. It's exciting to see our friends hanging out together, talking about their favorite movies, doing their best to scare the absolute bejesus out of each other. It's my favorite thing to do. So obviously, we are very grateful for all of you, our listeners, who keep checking in and letting us know that you're loving the show. One last thing before we get out of here. If you are still looking for ways to help the History Things podcast grow, we are looking for ways for you to help. That's not true. Let me rephrase that. If you are looking for ways to help the History Things podcast continue its stratospheric climb to the top, again, I'm going to hold it up now. We are the world champions of historical podcasting, as I have been stating for most of this season on the show. And there is no number one contender out there. It's just us, Matt and I, at the top of the Hell in the Cell, and Avery Lentz coming out to basically Stone Cold Stunner anybody who tries to take it away. That's right, because it's tag team champions too, babies.
Let's get ready to rumble.
But if you're looking for ways to help us, we would greatly appreciate it.
That's copyrighted.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Sorry.
5-star ratings on your favorite podcast app, positive reviews are the way to go. We appreciate the work you've all done to help us get up out of the mud and be something of a podcast people will recognize. And people are starting to figure out who we are. I don't know how to react to this. I guess it's just time to become the most famous people that ever lived, Matty B. Anyway, we love you guys here at the History Things podcast. Thanks for cutting loose with us for a little bit tonight. Obviously, back to your regularly scheduled programming where we close out season 3 here, and we look forward to dominating, continuing our raid of epic history Thunderdome in season 4. So we'll see you guys as we wind things down. Thank you all for listening to the History Things podcast. We love you. We will catch you all later.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.